Good evening. It is Tuesday, March 15th. This is the Board of Assessment Appeals. We are here to discuss and deliberate on appeals properly brought before the board. Kathy, can you take attendance?
Yes, okay. Colette Kuzo,
Here.
Helene Daly,
Here.
Carol Langland,
Here.
Kathleen Griffin,
Here.
Peter Rupert, not here. Katie Gusson, not here. Judy Zablak.
Here.
That completes the roll call.
Thank you. Before we start, it was brought to my attention that we did not do the approval of minutes. We should have started with yesterday. So let's start with those. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes for the special meeting and then the yesterday? Was it yesterday's meeting, Carol? Which ones are we looking at?
Ask Kathy.
Kathy, which one?
Okay, 2 from December. Let me see. We had a special and regular in December, and then a special March 23rd, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think it was March 23rd.
No, you're right, February 23rd.
December 6th and February 23rd were the two meeting dates. December 6th and the 23rd of February.
December 7th I have, and February 23rd, yeah.
I think they're both special because we changed the dates on both of them.
On December 7th, you had 2 meetings, a regular meeting and a special meeting.
Yep.
And then February 23rd, a special meeting.
Okay. All right. So those are meetings. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? I'm sure you have. Good. All those in favor of approving the minutes as recorded, please raise your hand. I see one hand. Hello?
Carol, Kathleen, and Helene have their hands up.
Okay, I have mine up. That's 4. Judy, how about Judy, are you approving the minutes?
No, because you have them all lumped together and I wasn't at the December meeting, so I'd have to abstain.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, all right,
So
Katie wasn't either. I'm sorry, Judy. You're right. Okay, let's start again. All those in favor of approving the minutes for December, the special meeting and the regular meeting, please raise your hand. 1, 2. Is it everybody except Judy?
Yes, and you. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So.
And I'm abstaining for the record.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the February 23rd meeting, please raise your hand.
Okay, everybody's raising their hand.
Okay, it's unanimous. Minutes are approved and accepted. Okay, so I will start by making a motion to get the appeals rolling. So I would like to make a motion to approve appeal numbers 26, 57, 44, 2, 14, 12, 15, 23, 38, 13, 20, and 21. All those in favor?
Oh,
I think it's just a motion. I don't think we're voting to approve them all, are we?
Well, don't we have to make a motion? Last year, we had to make a motion to approve them, and then we had to have a second, and then we did the appeal, and then we had to approve them again. So I would rather not approve them at all. I'd rather just get moving.
No, you're just motioning to bring them to the table. I think that's what you're doing. I don't think we're voting on them, right?
All
right. You're just making someone makes a second, and then they're all on the table. That's what right? And then we vote on them individually.
Okay. Like I said, not do any of that. Just get to it. But then let's skip it. I make a motion to bring to the table appeal numbers 26, 57, 44, 2, 14, 12, 15, 23, 38, 13, 20, 21. And Carol, you had 2 others, but I don't know. Remember.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to also add number 44,
Okay.
number 50, and 51.
50 and 51. Okay. All right.
Those 3.
Okay, that's good. Although, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. That was Judy, right? Judy second?
Yes.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Okay, unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. All right. A couple of things to start with. I've been told that appeal number 27, which was the fence row appeal, not the farm that we did last night, but the other one, has been withdrawn. So we won't be hearing that one. And now, because I promised a appellant that we would do his first, let's start with number 57, and that's Carol.
No, I think I'm doing 57.
You're doing 7? Okay, Judy, sorry. Okay.
All right, this is appeal number 57. The appellant's names are Roman and Holly Rubenstein. The property is located at 360 Catamount Road. The town's value is $897,500. The appellant's opinion of fair market value, it was changed at the hearing to 600. It was requested at 640,000. You might see it on the initial request of 625 to 700. The number is at 640. Okay. So on the reason for appeal, the house has been on and off the market since 2013. You know, he brought a lot of information, including the property history. And by the way, there was over 40 changes to that house listing. 40 in that period of time. It was on the market, off the market. He's actually included that. If you wanted to look inside of his file, you'll see it. But I'll go over that again. I'll go over that with you. That house, it couldn't sell over and over again for all of these times. So what happened is that the previous owners rented it out. And as they rented it out, we all know what happens when a property gets rented out because the tenants don't take care of the property. This property is also a little unique for a couple of other things. Number one, I want to point this out, and the appellant didn't mention it, but I want to mention it. It's a contemporary home, and the realtors here on the board, we all know that there's a pecking order of property values, right? The top value would be a colonial, second one would be a Cape. Then we're looking at a ranch, and then we're looking at a raised ranch or a split, and the contemporaries are all the way down on the bottom. He happens to have a large contemporary with no garage, more wetlands than the card actually notes, and there's a conservation easement on the property as well. So I do want to go over, he did bring some comparables, and just I just wanted to make sure before I went and took a drive by that house, if anybody has looked at that lot, I don't think he included acreage. Yeah, he did. I have to tell you, that particular lot is so odd. I went to the GIS and I took a look at it. You can't possibly put a square there anywhere. What he had provided is some of the wetlands, but I've got like the overall lot size is really, really odd. And the majority of it is unusable. About halfway through the property, actually not even, about 1/3 of the way through the property, you can see a stream running and it goes all the way to the back, which designates a lot of the wetlands that he's talking about, and also the conservation easement, which is not listed on the field cards. So that needs to be addressed. There's also, you know, by the way, no garage. If I didn't mention that, there's no deck, there's no garage. I want to go over the property history. When it comes to property values, you know, right now we're a little bit spoiled, right? The house is on the market for a day or a week, and we're all wondering why it's been on the market for a week. Generally, and now if we see a property on the market for a month, we look at that and say, oh my gosh, what's wrong with it? Well, right? So pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, you know, it's reasonable for a couple of months, 3 months, it could even be reasonable for 4 or 5 months, right? I think we all would agree on that. This property was on and off the market for, really? Do I need to say this?
Go ahead.
Started in 2000, I'm going to go over this because you all need to hear it if you haven't looked at it. I'm going to start from 2011. It was listed for rent. Then they had to reduce the price for rent because they couldn't do that. And then they reduced it again because they couldn't do that. And then they took it off the market for rent. Then in 13, and I guess they probably rented it out to somebody. They just didn't do it to the MLS. In 2013, they put it on the market for sale. And that was it, 1099. Then they changed the price in October. They removed the house from the market in November. They put it back on again in May of 14. I'm doing this all for a reason for you guys, okay? Then in June, they reduced the price again, and then they said, you know what, screw it, we're gonna rent it. So they put it on the market for rent. Then they reduced the price again for sale. They reduced the price again for rent. They reduced the price again for sale. Now we're up to July of 14. Okay, I am less than halfway through of all the changes for this property. So what I want to say to you, and I'm not gonna, I can go ahead and I can belabor. Let me get towards the end of it. So now we're in 18 and 19. Between 18 and between March of 2018 through and including October 29 when 21 when it finally sold, right? That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 changes. And that period of time. So here's what all of us know as real estate agents. You know, the house, it has a history. It is, we look at it, oh, that house, it's on the market, it's still on the market. They didn't sell it yet, or this and that. Okay, so buyers look at through all of that through Zillow, and it does hurt the value. So when a home is on the market, it sells quickly, it sells very close to the price. But here's what happens. So he goes, you know, when he actually mentioned in part of his appeal, property was listed for sale 7 times in 8 years. Okay. It was listed in 19, it was listed for $789. It's 108.5 below the current appraisal, and it still didn't get any offers. Okay. And he did supply some comps too that I'd also like to share with you. There was
Judy, I'm sorry, what did he pay? What did he pay?
He paid 809. Yeah, but he paid under duress. I'm going to look at that under duress. And they were in a COVID market. They had a new baby, and he lost out on like 40 houses. And he was like, they're panicked. They had to find, the landlord said, get out. And he had to find a place to live. And they kept losing out and losing out and losing out. And he needed to make sure his family had a place to live.
And what time, when was that again? What 809, and when did it close?
I will share that with you in a moment.
October of 2021.
Yeah, October 28th of 2021, and that was at 809.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, we look at that. We already know, just judging by that, at 897, before the property values even started to spike when he bought it, that was still wrong. It was still wrong, even if we went by the 809. But if you take a look at the 809 when he got that in October 21, if you were to take that number and, you know, work it backwards as what he should have paid if it was in the time period, the reval period, that is why he's come up with the 640. He said technically, you know, he did a base calculation. And when he did the base calculation, you know, it could be 647 too, before the prices had actually risen to that extent. And then when you take a look at the comps, though, so these comps have things that are more desirable, and the other issue is the lot and the conservation easement. When I looked at the field card, it didn't look like there was anything really noted on that. So let me get to it. I have one page. Where's the other page? No. Okay. So, as we all know, and this property, by the way, is 6.08 acres. 4.08 of it is conservation and wetlands. It's really mostly wetlands. And we know what Ross does. He takes the first 2 acres and he says, okay, we're going to build that as, as normal. And then after that, we're going to take the additional acreage and we're going to discount it. Isn't that right, Paula? Know what he does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But only, let me correct that, but only in Greenfield Hill where this property is. However,
Yes.
I don't think that's fair to the rest of the town. We can talk about that later. But yes, it
Okay.
does
Well, we're not talking about the rest of town. We're talking about this guy's
Yeah.
property. But you know what? When I look at that, and the appellant has even said to me, there's 2 acres. He can't use 2 acres of that property. That's not even usable.
No,
So-
there's what is that runs through that property? It looks like a river, but it's a
Yeah,
pretty
well,
wide
thanks for
swath.
looking. Yeah,
That's-
and
It's
it's free
yeah,
cars,
it's part
the
of all that.
septic, the leaching fields. So this property should be changed. Should give it a different percentage here. So he's got a different adjustment. He needs a condition. He needs a condition. I would different condition on the main to the 2 acres, and I think we also need to address the rest of that property. I see it's at a 0.4, and I'm not even quite sure it's that is enough. It's a really odd piece of property. Helene, did you look at the perimeter of the property?
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very
like what
oddly
can he
shaped.
do with it? He can't do anything with it.
Well, once you reach that swath of water that dissects the middle of that property, the entire property, and it's pretty wide. You
And it's
you
not even
you
the
can't
middle.
you can't get past that unless you, I suppose, unless you were to build a bridge, but it's all wetlands on the other side, so it's unusable.
You can't do anything. And one of the other issues I think with this house is that there's no garage. There's no garage. 3,800 square feet, and there's no garage. The prior owner tried to get a garage,
so
and some
weird.
kind of a variance for a garage. However, that kind of went away when the appellant bought it. There's no place to put a garage there. The conservation easement goes up pretty close to the house itself.
I think your 2 best comps are 1100 Catamount and 1321 Catamount.
Yes.
1100
there.
has a
Yes.
pool, and I showed 1321 Catamount, and I remember, and that's by that sold for 680, I think.
680,
680.
1321, and he supplied those. Are you looking at what he supplied, or are you going from your memory?
No, I'm looking at what he supplied, and actually that, even though that was an oddly shaped house on the outside, once you got inside, it was beautiful. I mean, the kitchen was new, floors were beautiful. That was a nice house. You just had to get past the contemporary look on the outside, and there was, finished lower level. It was a walkout, and that also had a little creek on that property, and like a little footbridge over it too. So it also has water, wetlands on it. But I think those are your 2 best comps.
Those are the 2. I would agree with that. And I pulled them out just to double check it. 1321 also has an in-law apartment.
Okay.
All right. So
I forgot about that. Yeah. You're right.
So you got to put that. You got to take that out because now that's income producing or extended family. or however you want to use it for this extra space. So I look at those two. I can go over the other ones also. We brought something over on Congress on the other, not on the Parkway side. And that was at 615. That didn't have a garage, but it's still on Congress, and Congress has the je ne sais quoi address. Although this is, like I said, it's not on the Parkway side.
This is Paulette. Also, that creek bisecting that property. I didn't look at the whole thing. If it goes all the way through, or if it goes through enough where.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. The thing about that is that you can't just say he could build a bridge, because he can't. Even if the conservation will not let him, he has to do a wetland crossing. It's like $100,000 to do it. Anybody on the other house that has the bridge, if that bridge comes apart, they can't redo it unless they go through this whole big process. So he's not really able to just put up a bridge and use his property. Not that it's all that usable anyway. So that's an impediment to him too. He really doesn't have a way to cross that unless he swims across.
Well, yeah.
Paddle
Or,
boats.
puts on duck boots and walks that way. But so at any rate, I look at all the information presented. I look at the conservation easements, the fact that he can't use the vast majority. I'm going to say, really, when you look at that map, Elaine, when you looked at it, it doesn't bisect the property. It's about it takes about 2/3 of it out. And you can't go close to that. And the conservation easement is right towards property. He's already put the cap on. As far as I'm concerned, the cap is what he purchased the home for. And that cap was at 809, and that was outside of the area, outside of the time frame. That gives us an indication that it has to be much less than that, right? It can't be 809 because we already had a lot of appreciation at that time. So I am really happy and pleased to say, I'd like to move forward with this at a 640 assessment, which is what he had requested. I think it's absolutely reasonable.
Just curious. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, how did he come up with the 640 number? Can you?
That's what I was going to ask too.
Yeah, he did a base calculation. After he did a base calculation of some comps, he came up with 647.2, but that actually, the prices had actually risen by that time. So he put it at the 640, and he also put the other comps there. So
I see it now on
the base period from October 1, 2019, October 1 2020. So, and he did put all of this in in his application.
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I see that. So as brokers, did a 25% price increase happen in the last, 13 months in Greenfield Hill? Would you say that prices went up 25%? I know in the beach area during COVID it did. I'm just asking if you think that 25% number is realistic for Greenfield Hill.
I'm gonna look up something right now while you're discuss amongst yourselves. I'm gonna look at something.
I don't know. I mean, my numbers were about like 31-32% just before pre-COVID in general for the town. And that first year, if I remember, it was more aggressive. So it wasn't like year on year, 15 on top of 15. It was, I think it was just slightly under 25% during that time frame, and then it went up another percentage.
From October 1, 2020 to October 28, 2021 is what he's saying is the 25%.
Yeah, that was
increase.
the big bang.
So you think it didn't, but that doesn't, well, okay. So that's discounting the other, that's discounting the rest of COVID, right? In other words, you're already at it. With the 25%, the number's going from October 1 of 2020, not from like April 1 of 2020, which is, what the appraisers have been doing, right? They're doing so much of 1% a month right? Is that what Greg Lane said? He generally does 1% a month starting with April 2020. So if you were to do that, what Greg used, then you used October 1, 2020 to October 28th, 2021, you'd use 12% and not 25%. I'm just saying. Because the number,
All right, so
it might be more, but the 12% increase, not a 25%, given from October 1, because you're talking about a year's worth of time.
This is Paulette. I just want to point out that when we talk about that percentage, that's an average. His house, not the house because I haven't been in it, his property, let me say it that way, is way below average as far as desirability and usability. That house was on the market 14 times, I think Judy said.
We had 40 different entries on the MLS on that, and 14 different times, and the house was tainted in the market.
Right. So Kathleen, I'm sorry. I'm not arguing that the house is overvalued. I'm looking at the math. That's all. I'm looking at the number at 647 and how are we justifying 647? And if I don't think 25% in a year is appropriate for Greenfield Hill, but if there's another, then we discount that argument and you use another way to justify the 647. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it shouldn't be that. I just don't think that was the right way to come to that number by using, a 25% additional increase in Greenfield Hill from October 1, 2020 to now. I think if there's,
I think it's fair to give a larger jump to a home that was an albatross, because it was ugly, 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 ugly. Sounds like nobody wanted it, and then COVID kicked in. So a house that was very difficult to sell became easier to sell. So I can rationalize in my head to see a larger jump than the rest of the homes that would have sold eventually anyway. So I'm just sort of giving the big picture.
Excuse me, this is Kathy. I just wanted to say Peter is here now.
Okay, hi Peter. This is Paulette. I'm just looking at the comps. And because that's what I usually look at. I'm just basing it on comps. And I think Helene mentioned 1321 Catamount sold for $680. And yet they had an in-law apartment. And I don't think their land was quite as impacted as his. So if I look at that number, to me, that's a good way to say, okay, here we have an impacted property or a home that doesn't quite meet today's standard of what's really attractive on the outside. And it was all redone on the inside. So if that's 680, then I see no problem with granting his at 640. That's all I go by.
Because I work it's a word
I'm just looking
I'm
at.
comfortable with that. I'm
Okay.
comfortable with that.
Right.
Just looking at InfoSparks, which is data that you can pull from MLS and target specific neighborhoods and this is the average sale price in October 2019. It was let me see. That was median, the average sale price, October, 973, no, yeah, 973,215 was the average price. And then in October 2020, it jumped to 1,062,680. And then just within the last 3 years, from October or January 2019 to today, Greenfield Hill is up 16.2%.
But talking about October 1, 2020 wasn't talking about he took 25% last year. But the comps, if you guys have looked at those comps and you're comfortable with those comps to justify the number, I think, those are real sales and they're, in the base period, they're all in the reval period. The prices that they sold for are all less than except for one, they're all less than the $849,900. I just think we need to make sure that something happens with that land so it doesn't come back up. And, that's all I'm saying. I don't know how you want to figure that out. But.
Can we direct Ross to put a condition on the rest of can we grant him the 640 and then have Ross do a condition on the property?
So this is Kathleen, because it's a computer system, it's really hard for him to like back into a number like 640. That's why if we tell him we want to get around 640, then he will go and do it and he'll come up with a number at like 635 or 642. But if you guys don't like to do it that way, then it's going to be an override because there's no physical way to, he could probably get close with changing it and then he'd have to override the rest of it. That's all.
But
If
we
you're
talked
okay
about
with
this
that.
last night, that we're not doing that. If we talk about a price of 640, we're not doing on or about. We're not doing, well, okay, it's close, it's 630, it's 645, whatever. We're not doing that. We're doing the 640. So is there a way, all right, Paulette, maybe you can share this with me. Is there a way we can go ahead and grant this for this appellant? And then afterwards, Ross can go in and adjust the condition of the land on the field card. And so, I mean, because what will happen if we grant this and then in 4 or 5 years from now, 4 years from now, is going to have another issue, right?
Yeah, I think that's what will happen. But I'm starting to think about it, and I'm wondering if it's best to grant it, let it go, and then if he has to come back in 4 or 5 years for a condition change on the land, he can come back. Because I don't see how we're going to get it to that number if we do it the way Ross, I guess sounds like the only way Ross can do it, which I don't agree with. So I'd rather get the right number, get the number we want, and have him come back at the next reval and ask for a condition change on his land, then go ahead and give him a higher value because it works for the town or it works for the computer system. But everybody feels about that. I'd rather see that.
The only other way to do both, in my thoughts, would be it's a burden for him to have to. You're basically playing around with numbers, and I tried to do it myself, and it's very hard to back into, whatever your number is, 640, 000. I mean, it's almost impossible. And so unless we want to take on the burden to back into the math with a condition, basically if you say that you play around, you're going to say the condition's 15 or 20%, and then it's math. It's just basic math. But if we don't want to do that with all of our appeals that have this issue, then I tend to agree with Paulette that we stick to the number and maybe we let the appellant know in your spare time, here's what you could do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with saying to him, this will stay this way now, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll stay this way until the next revalve, which is 5 years from now or 4 years from now, whatever's left on it. At that time, if he wants to come back then and say, you know what, my land is way overvalued, he certainly can appeal that. He's got maps, he's got everything he needs. But to go and get a different number because like you said, it's math and it doesn't work. I get that it doesn't. You can't pin it to that one number. I'm most comfortable doing it that way, but everybody, I don't know what everybody else thinks. I would rather see that happen. So he comes back.
I tend to agree.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
Why can't, if we give him the number, why can't if the assessor can make the adjustment on the land so that it stays with the property, and then if it's still not at that number, then the rest of the deduction would go on the dwelling, or you can split it up in 2 different ways.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the right way I don't think that's appropriate.
We used to do that, Helene, split them. I don't think they're doing that anymore. I think it's the whole piece. They're not, even last year.
They don't do that anymore?
No, there was no appeal for just the house or just the land, or where do you want me to take it from? Kathleen, you were on it for those 4 years. I wasn't. I was only on it last year. So if I'm wrong, let me know.
No, this is Kathleen. I think you are correct. He doesn't do it that way because that ends up as 2 overrides and then they all get messed up. So I think in this situation, he's going to have to he's going to have to get to 640, right? So that's what we vote on. So he needs a $257,000 reduction. So if we say to him, could you please, he's going to have to override some of it because he's never going to get to that perfect number of 640 even without overriding the amount. But he probably can adjust the land and some of the house, to get to that number. And then whatever that difference is, he's just going to have to put the override on. So some of the codes will stay. But it's just because he's got to get off, right? $257,000. $500. So he's got to figure out how he's going to do that. So if we say to him, we want, 20% off the house and 80% of it to come from the land and get as close as you can, and then he'll override, then he'll still probably put override on, but the codes will be on the property. Because I think we're all pretty certain that, right, that the land is, it's at the end of the day, how he codes, it's kind of up to him, right? We can't, we come up with the number, he comes up with how he puts it in the computer. We can't dictate how he does that. We can suggest what he does, and we can talk to him about it so that we, get together about what our intention is. And I think in this case, our intention is to get to that, right? You want to get to that number using, 40%, 80% land, 20% house. Is that right? Or 75, 25. And then, whoever, it's Judy. So Judy can just, say that to him. This is the number we approved, and the conversation was that we wanted you to do, this much land and that and get as close as you can. We'd appreciate that. And then he hopefully will, code it up that way and give a revised card, and you can see what the revised card looks like when it's done. So
The problem I have with that is, again, we may not be able to tell him how to do it, but again, I'm hearing that as close as you can. That's not my goal. My goal is this is the number. So if it means we have to just give him the number and let him deal with it the next time, I prefer that. I don't know what everybody else thinks. I don't want to hear as close as you can, because all I saw last year was as close as you can was never the number or less. It was always more. And I don't agree with that.
it was less sometimes, Paulette. This is Kathleen. It has gone lower than what they asked because we wanted to get close. So it ended up like $3,000 under, or 25, whatever, 8,000. In other years, he would have the card right up. He'd run it in front of us on the, on a shared screen. We'd watch how he would change the numbers. Maybe we were in person. And then we'd all be like, no, not low enough. And then all of a sudden he would change the value on the house. And we'd be like, yes, that's where we want to be. So in this case, we're not doing it that way. But if we give him the number, he'll get as close as he can using what we, mostly land or mostly house, whatever you guys want.
And the reason we're not doing it that way anymore is why? Since we always did it that way.
Great.
I don't know.
Why can't we just do the 640? Let's do that. And why is it that the appellant would have to wait another 5 years for his property to be conditioned properly? Why is it Ross going out there once he knows the condition is incorrect? Why doesn't he go out there and take care of that? And the 640 will stay until the next reval. But why?
If he doesn't put a huge override on it, right? That was the problem before, is that the previous assessor was locking in the land value and locking in the house value. And so those were just type the number in. It's like, it's an override, right? You don't use codes to create it. You just type it in, but then when the reval happens, all that has to come off because land values are changing, and they always build the base of the assessment based on the land value. So your land values always go up or down each time. That's the basis for the thing, and then the property. So that's why it used to happen a lot. Ross has been better, as far as I know, at making sure that if the wetlands is the issue, that there's adjustments on the land to get to closer to the number. So I'm not saying it's going to bounce back up to 897. I'm just saying he can't get to 640 perfectly. So there's going to have to be some way that he's going to have to do an override to get to 640. And it's, we're talking about taking off 300,000, 297,000. So it's going to take him some time to figure out how to do that. But I think if we give him direction, then the majority of it will stick. And whatever the override code was, hopefully everything else should stay. I don't know. He would have to explain, why overrides are not as ideal as, getting it fixed exactly. But
Well, it's going to come up over and over again.
Yep. I think that it's time to decide. We've been on this for a while now. So,
yeah.
Judy, make whatever motion you think is best.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the appellant's opinion of fair market value is $640,000, and this is on appeal number 57 at 360 Catamount Road. Have a second?
Yep, me, Carol.
Thanks, Carol.
Carol seconds. Okay, all in favor? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. My hand is up. 5. Okay, Kathleen, I can't see your hand. Either way,
Kathleen hand is up.
Kathleen's hand is up.
Yes, my hand's up. Yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous then.
No,
I
Peter's
think Peter
Peter's
might
here.
be
Peter, I'm sorry.
abstaining.
to
Oh,
abstain.
I was not here for the full.
Yeah, he's abstaining.
Okay, all right. So the motion carries with Peter abstaining. Okay. Kathy, can you read that back, please?
Appeal number 57 to reduce the fair market value to $640,000 carried with Peter abstaining.
Thank you.
Just a point. I'm not clear what you do in the beginning of the meeting where you call all the appeals. I thought that was a motion to bring all of them to the table to accept. So I don't know why there was another motion to,
Well,
grant this price.
and I agree with you. I don't know why either, but apparently you have, according to the FOI, I think it is, you have to make a motion. I don't prefer to do it that way. I prefer to say, okay, let's start appeal number, whatever, Carol or whoever. And then when they're done presenting and everybody's done with the discussion, then we make a motion to accept it. We have to make it in the affirmative, which I don't agree with either, but whatever. So we have to, that's what I thought we would do, but I've been corrected on that. So we have to somehow bring a motion in the beginning to, I guess, at least bring it to the table. So I do it all at once. This way we don't have to do it every time and it saves time. That's why we did it.
Well, then I don't understand why Judy and Carol had to make a motion for this appeal and second it if you did all of them at the beginning of the meeting.
Because I can
Just
only
open the discussion.
table for discussion. I can't approve it because we haven't voted on them yet. I only bring them to the table for discussion. That we're all in agreement that we're going to hear these, which makes no sense because if we didn't hear, we couldn't get this done. But we have to follow the rules because after all, we have rules. So, which I believe that rules are meant to be broken and meant to be challenged, but we can't do that now. We're just going to make everybody happy and do it this way, make the government happy. So this is why we're doing it that way. That's the only description I can give you. Okay, next. We want to bring one back that was from last night because now we have new information. So appeal number 26, Carol.
Okay. I'd like to make this really short and sweet. We did go to, this is 649 Roland Road. We went to the town, talked to.
Appeal number.
Appeal number 26, Kathy.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm just getting this person's name. Emmeline Harrigan at the Planning and Zoning Board for the beach said, in no unclear terms, you are not allowed to regrade. You are not allowed to fill in. The town policy is you don't get to fill anything in the floodplain, period, go away. So, with that said, I'm hoping that we're able to put this one to bed and grant this appellant her tax relief, which was on the table last night for $600,000. The town values it at $769,500. I don't want to belittle everything that I talked about yesterday, so I'd like to move to a motion to grant her request for $600,000, given the defects on her property. And yeah,
I'll second that. I'll second it, Carol.
okay.
Anybody have anything to say before we go forward? We didn't do that piece. Okay. All in favor of appeal number 26 for $600,000 as requested, please raise your hand.
3,
How many? Because I can only see 3.
4, Carol, Paulette, Helene, and Judy.
Okay. So that's 4 in favor. And what about Kathleen and Peter?
Opposed.
Both opposed?
Kathleen opposed. I didn't see Peter.
Peter's opposed.
Okay.
Yeah, his hand's not raised, so
Okay.
that would be opposed.
All right. The motion carries to grant the appeal for $600,000 1,000 with Kathleen and Peter opposed. Thank you, Carol.
Okay.
Kathy, can you read that back? Make sure we have it right.
Appeal number 26 to reduce the market value to $600,000 was carried with Kathleen and Peter opposing.
Okay. Carol, I think we're going to keep up with you as long as you're talking.
Yeah.
So I have number 44 next.
Okay. So this is appeal number 44. It's 2,870 Black Rock Turnpike. And the owner is Conrad Fletcher and his wife, Magdalena. This is a very unusual discrepancy. If you're all heading away towards the Merritt Parkway from like Panera Bread, I visited this property as well. You know, you kind of go past the man with the honey, and you find the mailbox, and he's on 1.9 acres, believe it or not. You drive up, which looks like a wasteland of diseased and dead dropped trees. There's wetlands, and then you go up this super steep slope of a driveway, and at the very, very top is a cute little sweet house, which is 2,500 square feet. He's put $150,000 of improvements into it, and a little plot of land. So a little bit of history. He bought this property back in 2016 for, what are my numbers? $287,000. Really low. And it was a much smaller house. It still only has 2 bedrooms, but it was in disrepair. So he permitted and blew out or went over part of the garage and added some extra space. And he basically in his letter is not appealing the value of his home, although I question the assessed value. But he's really discussing through some very good comps his town
Can
value.
I interrupt for a second? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
I didn't catch the appeal number on this. I just want to get
44.
44. Thank you.
Yeah. So the town has this property. Again, it's a 2,500 square foot home on 1.9 acres, most of which it's wetlands, setbacks, and steep slope and heavily wooded, but with diseased trees that he's not allowed, that just kind of go down, and he has to leave them down. It's funky. I mean, I feel like I'm in the middle of Vermont. Anyway, so remember, he paid 200 and something thousand dollars, and now 6 years later, the town has it appraised at 842, which is really bizarro. So one of the best comps that he provided, and I blindly did my own search and would have found this exact same comp, is his next door neighbor. So he's at 2870, his neighbor's at 2858. And this closed right in our time frame of July of 2020. Okay, so that is a sold comp. It's on a little bit less land, so it's on almost 1.3 acres versus 1.9. Okay, and that closed at $415,000. It was a ranch, gorgeous home. I don't know if it was flipped, but it looked absolutely beautiful. And that closed at $415,000. Now, again, it was a ranch with about half the size of what his is. But comparing, I mean, it's so out of whack. And again, I'm new to this game, but it's so out of whack that the town has his valued at, $842,000, and this ranch closed at $415,000. So even if we were to play with the both the land and the home values, we wouldn't come near 800 and almost $850,000. So he's asking for a value of 650,000 for everything, which I personally feel is conservative. But I don't, I'm gonna leave it at that, based on these comps. So, if anyone has any questions, let me know, because I did visit please ask. I did visit the property and attest to myself what it looks like there.
I have a comment. I just, I know that area really well, and my thought is, really? I think just 650 is too high. I think you sell yourself too
Yeah.
short.
I mean, I put 600, but like I said, I'm new to the game, and I don't really want to start lowering just willy-nilly. Although if you know me by now, I try to approach things pretty methodically. The town card has his value with a 90% condition, so that means it's a 10% reduction based on traffic. But it's not the traffic, to me, that's the issue. It's that he's in like a wasteland. Yeah, so again, 650 is very conservative to me. I don't know how that happened, and perhaps it just is a glitch. The ranch next door sold during our comp time frame for 415. Again, he bought it 6 years ago in the twos, so it's hard to use that number. But to go from 280 something to $840,000, even
What's the number? What's the number of the house next door?
2858. I actually pulled the MLS on that. If you look at the pictures, it's absolutely beautiful. But that's about 1472 square feet. So he had
2858? Huh.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I might have the wrong one. Hold on. Yeah, the ranch.
2858. I don't know why it's not coming up.
Yeah. 7 in July 30th of 2020. It listed at 419 and it sold for 415.
I agree with Judy. I think that he's being very conservative, or Carol too, whatever. I would not, if I were to look at this property, and somebody said to me, "What do you think it's worth?" I would not say 650 because of the mostly property.
I would say 600. I mean, that would be my quick.
That's the number that I thought.
If he's asking for 650, I see the town is lucky that we that he's settled on that number.
I'm not even going to get into it, but this gentleman is from the Ukraine. I'm just putting that out there. And he's collecting a bunch of goods at his home for his family and friends as well. They have one son, and he's living the American dream. That's exactly what he did 6 years ago when he bought this property for 200 and something thousand. Put his sweat and tears into building the home, put $150,000 improvement. And I think I'm honored that he actually said to me, I'm not even questioning the home, because I do question the value of the home now as well, based on appraisals elsewhere. So I guess I can tackle this two ways. I can put a motion to make it 650, or I can put a motion to put what I truly believe would be something more like 600.
What did he ask for?
650.
Can I?
650.
Yeah. So if Catherine Giff were here, she would, from last year, this would be one that would make her, pull her hair out, because those larger lots up in this area, like the 2 acres and things, these people in general, especially this neighborhood 85, which we know has like 3,000 properties in it. So the land values, when your acreage gets big in those neighborhoods, skews your land really high. And so last year we saw a lot of ones similar to this where that happened, and the value's just not it's just not there. But because of the way the land curve works and because of the size of the neighborhood code, you know, especially these ones on Black Rock Turnpike when they're on 2 acres or not. It's not 2 acres of usable land, and yet his land is valued very high because that land, you know, the neighborhood adjustment code, right, for neighborhood 85 is 1.27. So that's why this is happening with his land. But I mean, I think if he, you know, so I'm totally fine with it. I think that, I think if he asks for the number, I think we should give him what he asked for. You know, I don't know that we want to get into, you know, guessing every number for somebody and giving them more, just because, you know. So that's my opinion on changing the amount that he asked for. I think he's fair, and I think it's not a, you know, if we start to go there, it can become a really slippery slope, and I'm not comfortable doing that, but I'm totally okay with the 650.
This is Paulette. I kind of agree with that. I don't really want to start changing people's numbers lower, but I do have this to say. As I've said many times, he's in neighborhood 85. Is that where he is? I'm not looking at something to continue that, but I thought that's what I heard.
He's in 85, yes.
85 on Black Rock Turnpike. That neighborhood is Fairfield Woods. Could somebody explain to me where Fairfield Woods and Black Rock Turnpike come close? Because I don't see it. He belongs in neighborhood 75, I think, that's closer to him, which is Lake Hills. The difference in the land value is tremendous. Goes from,
So just
value,
for,
factor number, goes from 1.27 to 0.75. That would decrease his land dramatically. His neighborhood is miscoded. I'd like to see something done about that. I'm tired of looking at these things where these neighborhoods are wrong, because people are paying too much money and some people are not paying enough money. So I don't understand why this was ever done when you couldn't just leave things the way they were. I don't want to hear that the neighborhood's too big, because now Fairfield Woods, by the way, stretches all the way to Jefferson Street up by the Parkway. That's not big. That's huge.
No, absolutely not.
So I don't get it with these neighborhoods. I'd like to see him reclassified into the correct neighborhood first.
not that this agent, Jeff Romanek, who listed the property next door is accurate, but he called the neighborhood not Lake Hills. He called it Lake Mohegan, because Lake Hills might connote that you're part of the associations. So that was back in 2020.
And that agent is from Milford, so he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right. Well, I don't know whether Lake Mohegan or Lake Hills have a different value.
I'll tell you right now, I think that he's closer. I can understand what he was doing, and that was good of him to try. I think that it is closer to Lake Hills than to Lake Mohegan. Lake Mohegan would be up in the Stratfield area and up by the Cascades and up and around. I guess, well, you know what, though? Those Cascades go all the way around to Congress. So I don't know. I guess I could see him doing that. I don't know. This is pretty high up on Black Rock Turnpike. So, but I still,
this is across from
Black
Rock Turnpike.
It's not high up.
Oh, then that's
this is no Black Rock.
That belongs in Lake Hills.
Yeah.
So that's a huge difference in the value. And I agree with Catherine Giff. I do not believe, I said this earlier, but it didn't apply to that appeal in particular, but here we have an issue. The guy has almost 2 acres of land. His zoning does not even come close to 2 acres, I don't think. And yet he's got all this extra land paying, and it's useless land, and he's paying all this money for it. That's not fair. Why should one part of town get a discount and the other part doesn't when they have too much land? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
This is Kathleen for the next reval. These are all the really good conversations and notes we need to be taking, because Ross is going to start the next reval in 2022. He's going to be working on it now, and that was one of the neighborhoods that they're just codes and ways of grouping houses, right? But so clearly there's some that Charlie should have been in Lake Hills that are not. And while we don't probably, we can't really tell him to change it, I don't think he will. I think the next time, he'll adjust the property appropriately, but the next time around, Lake Hills should, he'll have to take a look at some of that. And those codes were made by Tom Brown, if not before. Those neighborhoods have been around for a long time. They're not ones that he created. He's created some new ones. If you listen to the reval meetings from last time, they did create the Lake Hills. That's new. And perhaps they didn't put enough properties in Lake Hills. And they created the university. There's a couple other neighborhoods that they created. So, it's always a tweaking and work in progress. And I hope that they include the brokers when they start to, group homes together for valuing purposes and try to divide it up. I think it's a worthwhile effort for the board and for the public.
Thank you, sweetie. I would like to make a motion now to grant this gentleman and his family's requested value for $650. Is there anyone who could second that?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Again, I only see a few people, so
It's unanimous.
it's unanimous. Okay, then let's go
That's
with it.
our first unanimous.
Yay.
All right.
And before we go on to the next one, I will say this, though. I intend to talk to the assessor about that, and we can't tell him to change. Watch me try. Because poor man is going to pay too much taxes for 5 years until it gets corrected. That's criminal for that kind of property. The difference between 0.75 and 1.27 for that factor that they use.
Wow.
That's a huge difference to this guy. So, and I'm sure there's many like that. So I will talk to Ross and see if I can get him to change it. But I'm not going to.
All it would take is, less than a week for a small group of realtors to sit down together and go through every single street and identify that neighborhood. And we could do it right off the top of our head.
That would be, I would welcome the opportunity to participate.
Yep.
I think that's a great idea. Like, do you have any idea? And then I'll stop this. But do you have any idea why he split the university into the university and east of North Benson? I think
East North Benson exists. I pulled it out the other day. I was going to send it to you guys, the codes from before, what they were with John Ross. I kind of saved everything, so I have all those codes. I think East and North Benson's been around for a long time. It might have a new description, not a new number. It's not a new code.
That needs to be.
Nor is 5 Fairfield Woods. The new one was, I think he split some of the university Mill Plain area with, and perhaps it should have been called Mill Plain. He split that off of some of Southport. I think that's what they did in the reval. I'd have to go back and, listen to what MDS did. But I think that's what the university was really, was really more the Mill Plain, the west of, Fairfield U, and that Mill Plain area was always combined with Southport. And that was causing a lot of difficulty valuing land between those areas. So, but, like I said, it's sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. And it's a work in progress to make it better. So, revals are the time to do that. So.
All right. Okay, Carol, next is number 5.
Yeah.
What number?
Yeah, these are both personal property. They'll go really fast. 50 and 51. So these are both nice young hairdressers who are renting space at 427 Stilson Road. They both are at 427 Stilson Road, which I guess is a building that has little like stall cubicles where these hairdressers, I've heard about them, I just haven't used them yet. If you have a following, I'm sorry?
I've been there. It's
okay.
cute.
If you have a following of people and you've worked for a big salon, and every cut you don't get the full amount, you give some of it to the salon and you get a percentage, and so a number of these hairdressers, if they have a following and want to be their own boss and make their own hours, are using these stalls that they rent. And they basically just have a sink and they bring their own supplies, their curling irons and cutting cutting scissors and blow dryers and do their thing. So both of these appeals are 2 young gals who were renting spaces in there and didn't declare their personal property because they didn't receive the forms. That whole building, 427 Stilson, changed hands with landlords at the same time that the notices went out. That being said, I know that they are, like all of us are supposed to know it, regardless of a notification, we're supposed to be aware of what we owe and what we don't owe. The IRS doesn't send us a little reminder saying that we owe taxes April 15th, but
I wish they would though.
I know, me too. At the same token, I've gotten many a speeding ticket over the years, and I've appealed them all. And I usually get them slapped and gone away. So, my first, feeling is that the first appeal number 51, she only filed a week late, and she got slammed with a penalty of $410. So I'm inclined to just allow her. What happens, you probably know this, forgive me if I'm repeating what you know. If they don't file their declaration of personal property for their business, the town sets a assessment on them. So this particular person has filed it, she just missed. So she got it in, they have her correct information, but they still impose the penalty of $410. So I feel like I would like to grant her this one-time exception to waive the penalty for this particular appeal. So that would be my motion to waive the penalty.
This
How
is
would you
Kathleen.
do that?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is Kathleen. We can't wait by state statute. We're not allowed to waive the penalty. But also most of them don't understand that it's not a $400 penalty. The penalty is 25%. You have to pay taxes on 25% more of what your assessed value is. So we vote on these in assessed, not in appraised. So if her supplies were valued at $2,060, 25% of that is, about $500. So instead of paying taxes on $2,000, she's going to pay taxes on $2,500, or whatever that penalty was, the $400.
Okay, I guess I'm not clear then, Kathleen, because I did pull the summary at the town today, and her penalty is $410.
Right, that's the penalty for both these and the commercial real estate is that it increases what you're being assessed on. So it's like, say you had a house assessed at $1 million, and you got a 25% penalty. Instead of paying taxes on $1 million, you're going to have to pay taxes on $1,250,000, but you're not paying $250,000 in penalties. You're just paying taxes on the difference. So her penalty would be the mill rate times the $400, whatever that would be, maybe $100. Have to do the math. Right, the mill rate's what, 27? So who's ever got a calculator can figure out what that is.
So
but on $400.
So then to eliminate that completely on the tape, so I would reassess. I would suggest then that we reassess it at the value minus the $410 of the penalty added into the assessment. Correct?
We can't. We don't have statutory ability to do that.
Right.
So okay.
Excuse me.
If they had argued that her equipment wasn't worth $2,000, right? Say she said, my stuff isn't worth, or whatever it is, $1,500. There's no backup here, so it's difficult to see. I don't see what she, usually they include a copy of her.
Yeah, she declared her total her total value at $2,488, and then the penalty of $410 got put onto there in terms of the total assessment, and then in terms of the total appraisal, and then it went into the assessment. So all right, then what do we do? What can we do to give somebody a hall pass?
This is Paulette. I have a question. Which appeal? Are we on 50 or 51 right now?
51.
Okay. Let me go to 51 because I was looking at.
Remember, these people are not filling these forms out correctly.
Okay, so she thinks her value that she put on her stuff is how much?
She put her value accurately. She's not opposing that.
Okay.
Her appraised value is $2,488. That translates to an assessed value of $1,650. And then the penalty of $410 goes on to that. for a total assessed value of $2,060. So
I
don't
see.
look at her requested value because it's messed up. She came to me and asked if she could, because she was only a week late, could we remove the penalty?
Okay. So I have another question. How can she prove to us that the letter she got was late?
So no, she didn't prove that. But interestingly enough, the next person who rents next to her also had the same issue. So, and they're not friendly. They're not that close. They went their own separate ways. I actually watched to see if they went in the same car. So, I mean, I'm taking their word that, that the landlords changed hands. I mean, I don't see how somebody would make that up. And that the mail got mixed up. And this particular person was a week late, according to the town. The other appeal is a little different, but so I guess, again, based on your previous experience, do you waive penalties or do you back into the assessment to waive the penalty for this one? No.
We
Everybody
can't.
shake their head
We're not
no.
allowed to.
We're not-
Agree to changing the assessment because of the week late. I'd like to help her, but I think our hands are tied.
Well, wait,
We can't change it.
they're
I
tied.
think it's $11. Like their penalties, like what's the mill rate? What's the taxes on $400? Like
It's the
$11,
same. It's
right?
the same mill rate as we apply to everything. What,
26.
26.98?
26.98.
Their taxes would
26.98.
be $11, right? Am I doing it right? On $410, what's the mill rate? What would you pay for taxes?
26.98.
So our penalty is $26. The mill rate's 27, right?
You know what?
26.98.
So
So
77.
it's still 400 and it's $12.
Yeah.
I think it's $12.
That's-
I think our penalty is $12.
That's
$11.
interesting. That was not conveyed to me. It was conveyed to me that their penalty is 410. I understand that now. I do not think we should grant this and just let it lie. It's not a big enough issue.
But we have to
Wait a
help on it.
What's-
20,
We're still on number 50, right?
51.
51. Okay. But here's the issue with 51 now. The town says it's valued at 4,000. She says she's valued at 1,012.
No, that's 50. You're looking at the wrong one.
Oh, I am looking at 50. Yep. Okay.
That's
Let me go.
okay, sweetie.
51. Okay.
I'm doing
right.
this one because it's easier.
Okay. So remember, my head's a little bit foggy. I was, without too much circulation for like 8 hours. So I got to build that back up.
Okay. All right. So this was an education for me. So I'm going to make a motion then that we deny this appeal for the penalty. No, I can't motion that either.
No, you make a motion in the affirmative and then we vote on it. We second
Right.
it and vote on it.
You have to make it in the that you wanted approved, and then we all have to vote no if that's the way you're voting. Seems crazy to me too, but that's the way it is. Another one of those rules I don't like.
Okay. I make a motion to grant the removal of the penalty of 410 assessed for appeal number 51.
All in favor? Oh, I second.
I'm confused. I thought we couldn't do that.
She has to make the motion in the affirmative. So she has to say she's made the motion to approve it. Okay. Then we have, if we don't want it, because we can't give it to her, we have to all deny it.
Okay.
Okay. So I seconded the motion. So now we're going to call for a vote. All in favor of granting that appeal to remove the penalty, please raise your hand.
So now I don't even raise my hand for the motion.
Nope,
I
don't
just
don't want to give it to her. We can't give it to her. All opposed, raise your hand.
understood. Okay. Kathy Grand, you good?
Yeah, so you unanimously denied it, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
I didn't see Peter's hand up.
Okay, I didn't. Oh, where's Peter? Is he there?
He's here.
Okay,
I'm not voting for it either. I didn't have to
okay,
put my,
that's then as you. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, so who's abstaining? Peter and,
No, he's not abstaining.
No,
He's
he's saying no.
oh, no, okay.
all right.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
all right. So now, what about number 50? Is that next?
Okay.
Okay.
So number 50 is Amy Rice of 427 Stilson Road. And she not only did not file her declaration, but I understood during the hearing that she did file it. However, the town, I confirmed this by going there today, has not received it. I will say that I have another appeal who had a similar problem with doing these online filings. But that being said, I have to sort of like lean towards the town saying they didn't receive anything, because I guess you would, if you were mindful, you'd find a way to make sure they received it. Unfortunately, the town has this value appraised very high. She does the same haircut, blow dries, and curling iron services as the one we just heard. So while I wasn't even inclined to agree to request the penalty, which now I've just discovered you can't anyway, I do feel that the town valuing the default of $4,000 assessed value from a appraised value of $5,719 is just not right. Nobody has that much blow dryers, curling irons, and scissors.
Shampoo.
And no, the shampoo is not. That's a variable expense. Shampoo and conditioners.
Oh, okay.
Homework. That's expensed. So these are fixed assets that don't vary with volume. So,
So does that include the chair and the sink, or is that all, like, is that considered rented from the?
That's all it provided to them and part of the rent.
Okay.
So they really just have like their toolkit with them, that they either bring or leave there. There's no furniture or fixtures. So, in this case, I do feel that the town value assessed of so the $4,000 includes I'm sorry, it's actually $5,000. So the assessment is $5,000. It includes $4,000 of assessed value of personal property and $1,000 penalty. So she would be taxed at the $2,698 on $5,000. So she has yet to provide her declaration, though. She claims she did. I don't have it in my hands. She didn't bring it to the meeting.
I have a comment. I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
All right, so first of all, $4,000 is ridiculous. I'm sorry that she has an assessment and things happen to her too. I don't know how many people are at this particular building, but there's only 2 that didn't get whatever personal property out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I happen to have a hairdresser who rents one of these little rooms.
Oh, okay.
Not there, it's in Westport.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I am very, very familiar with how they work. So, and there are a number of different hairdressers in one of those buildings. That's so these are the only 2 that came up.
Yeah.
It just seems a little odd. So you know what?
Well, they just started their business.
Okay, but wait a minute. I'm not done yet.
I hear you.
All right. So the $4,000 is absolutely too much. Okay, I'm sorry they got assessed. She got assessed. But here, there's something very, very important, and nobody said a word. And I'm going to read it to you and think about it. The reason for her appeal: she never received declaration of personal property form, and she wasn't aware because she opened in November 2020.
Yeah.
November 2020. This is October 19, October 20. Is that what we're doing, or is it different on this?
That's a very good question. She's outside of, she did not own that business as of October 1st, 2020.
Correct. Right.
Okay. So why should she have to submit anything and why should she have to pay anything?
Correct.
Well, they had, according to the town, and again, I don't know this completely, they haven't sent the bills out, but the assessments have been determined.
How
She
could they-
didn't own it.
She didn't own the business. Okay, you know what I think we better do? Perhaps we should put this aside, whatever we're supposed to do, whatever the wording is, because I believe Judy's right. It's $4,000 is too much money. How many scissors can you have? Hair dryers, but whatever. And if she didn't open this business during the evaluation period, then why is she getting a bill? And you know, why is she being penalized for something she didn't even have? So
I think it's like, isn't it like motor vehicles where everything's in arrears? I don't know.
Sure, if it wasn't there, it can't be in arrears if it wasn't there.
No, if you didn't buy
My
your house
newborn
during that,
baby, my newborn baby is a week old, but was actually born last year, right? That doesn't sound right.
I don't know. I'm looking at the town printed out for me, their 2021 summary. And I see the assessments on both of them. So I was under the impression that they're responding to the appeal that or the assessment that they got in the mail, not from the 2020, but from the current time period. They have yet to be billed. They don't know what the bill is, but they were told that they were late in filing. So are you saying that we're hearing the appeal a year or two early?
basically, yes.
Can we get clarification on that before we vote on this one?
We better get, I'll be happy to call town hall tomorrow because I'm the one who sits home all day. So
Okay, Paula, can you get clarification on this?
on exactly what period they're talking about. So yeah, okay, I can do that.
This is Kathleen. I also asked someone to make sure that she files because, you know, it's always been the practice to say, look, especially if they're in for their hearing, go downstairs and fill out the paperwork. Somebody's always in the assessor's office when we're having our hearings. Just go do it. And if they don't go and fill out the paperwork, even if it's late, then, you know, I don't think that they should be getting a pass. And they can just go in and write 0 for everything. And they put 0 and they sign it. But at least they've filed, because usually they go to the town clerk's office, they look who files for, what is it, you know, when you register your business or whatever, that's how they find the new businesses and send them the tax bill. So she must have registered her name somehow because that's how they first started to contact her. So I just think it's important that, you know, we find out for sure. She says, you know, did you say on the record, I definitely did it and I hand walked it in and I confirmed that the assessor has it. Because Paul is the person who does all the personal property. So I just, in addition, you know, if she's asking for a different amount, then, you know, she can tell us what she's asking for, but I think she thinks that, I really like to see her do the paperwork first before we even, you know, take a look at reducing. And often what we used to call them 6250s, Helene probably remembers those, because typically what the assessor does, if no one files at all, he puts them at 5,000, and then there's a 25% penalty. So that's the 1250. So we used to get a lot of. So I don't know why this one isn't a 250. Maybe he gave her a lower number if she never filed. I'm not sure what happened, but that's usually the trigger for us that the paperwork wasn't filed is we see 6,250, you know, on the as the appraised value. So I would agree that we should postpone it, you know, about what's going on.
Okay, so all right, let's postpone that. I file a motion to postpone it. Paula, thank you if you could figure that out.
I can figure it out. I'll second it.
All right.
And actually, let's go back to the other one. Now, we've already decided on that one, but I think we may have to, if we find out that, did that one also open their business in 2020? Or November of 2020 or something? Let me go back.
Stated that. I didn't notice that.
If that one's the if that's not an issue.
No, she didn't state that. That wasn't part of her appeal. So this one made it, you know, number 50 made it a part of their appeal.
Yeah,
That's what makes
Yeah.
it different. And that's why we're good with, I mean, I'm good with the other one.
yeah,
we'll
I'm
leave-
good with the other one.
Okay, we'll leave the other one because it wasn't in
Yeah.
there. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
That's for now.
For this one, you just made a motion to postpone. Yesterday, when you postponed, I don't have any record of motions, but do you want to vote on this postponing since you took a motion?
Sure,
Okay,
let's
can
vote.
someone
All in
second my
favor?
motion to postpone?
I seconded.
Paulette did, but you didn't vote yet. Mhm.
So let's vote on that. All in favor of postponing until we get further information from the assessor's office regarding this appeal, please raise your hand.
Okay, everybody's raising their hand.
Okay, so that's unanimous.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so I think that's it for you, Carol. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yep.
Let's
make one
continue. I'm
comment
sorry,
here?
Peter, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment is that, you know, I mean, I don't want to see business owner, you know, paying more than they have to pay. I don't want to, you know, if there was some, you know, screw up in the town hall, whatever, right? But, you know, the appellant has to provide some evidence, and neither of those had any evidence attached to them. So, you know, I just, you know, we need to be careful about, you know, and it is the appellant's burden to provide the evidence that they want.
Agreed.
They're under oath. They are also sworn in at the beginning of the appeal, and they are under.
Yeah.
Right. But there's nothing for us to look at. I mean, there's
Well, we're
nothing for us
taking
to-
their, you know, we're taking these 19-year-olds or 20-year-old word.
Actually, Peter, I'm not arguing that we should or shouldn't grant it. We can't take the penalty away. I'm not arguing that we need to lower the value that the assessor gave her. What I'm checking on tomorrow has to do with the date. I don't know if she falls within the period we're looking at, and if not, then she needs to file her paperwork. Absolutely, when it's due. What we're saying is we're not sure that this was due now. I want to clarify with the assessor. Like, we know that with residential and commercial, we're doing October of 19, October of 20. This woman didn't open the business until November of 20. So she doesn't fall within our period of what we're looking at. I just want to make sure we're looking at the right time, I guess is what it is.
Sure, I understand that. Yep.
That's all I'm looking at. Then we can discuss what we're going to do with it after that. I just want to make sure we even have to do anything. So, okay. And Peter, while you're speaking, you might as well continue. You're up to appeal number 2.
Okay, appeal number 2.
Okay, there we go. I got it. Okay.
15. Oh my God.
All right, hold on. This is my notes here. Okay, I got it right here.
Okay.
Can I make a cup of coffee while he's doing that? 30 seconds.
Just for everybody's information, I think that we should take another break at around 7, a little after 7. We'll take that 20-minute break. That's okay with everybody?
Sounds good. I heard that, Paulette.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Sorry
Okay.
about that. All right, so this is appeal number 2. It is 573 Reef Road. And town's valued this property at 575,100. The appellant is requesting a value of 450. So the appellant provided some comps that they wanted me to focus on: 583 Reef Road, 4 Helen Street, and 28 Riverside Drive. You know, they claiming that 573 is in poor condition. I mean, I've been by it. It, you know, definitely is in need of a paint job. You know, he said insurance won't, you know, insure the garage, but you know, he didn't provide any documentation towards that. So, you know, just looking at this as a let's just say 5 bedrooms. It's a multifamily, or it's 5 bedroom, 2 bath, 2688 square feet, and it was built in 1925. All right, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. I just gave you the wrong information there. That was for his comp. But this one is, so I don't see any permits pulled for the garage. Right, it's on 2.33 acres, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 7 rooms. You know, the garage itself was built in 2001, and it's about the living space is about 13,700 or 1376 in square feet. All right, so his comps were the 583 Reef Road, and again, just going back through that quickly: 5 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2688. That was, you know, he brought that up. That was an unqualified sale. That one sold for, I believe, let's see what it said. Actually sold price for 505. All right, 583 Reef Road. And then, but that was considered an unqualified sale. That was, let's see what the date is right now. And then is 4 Helen Street. This one is in a different neighborhood. This is neighborhood 67. It has an adjustment for the neighborhood, has a 0.9 condition. This one's 1380 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. No outbuildings on this property. This is a couple of blocks over from St. Thomas, this one. Okay. And then he also said 28 Riverside Drive. That was a sale that was for 475 and 101320. And this is neighborhood 96. And that's over near the Fairfield Social Club, the Riverside Drive there. And that one's 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,112 square feet, 0.230 acres.
I'm sorry, Peter, what was the square footage of that?
212 square feet.
No, you don't mean 212.
No.
2,112. Sorry, 2,112.
2,000. So you mean 20,000? I'm
2,112.
2,112.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, that's on 0.23 acres, and it does have it says a location adjustment to correct for neighborhood. I'm not exactly sure what that means. So,
well, all three of those comps are much better than 573 Reef. I've shown that in the past, and yikes, that's most people just go in and say, yeah, no thanks, and come right back. I mean, to me, that looks like a student flop house when you're in there, and it's only 1,376 square feet. Yep, the only one closest to that is on Helen Street, and that was a nice nice building, in much better condition than Reef Road. Let me look up 583.
What's your opinion, Peter?
yeah, I mean, I I don't, I'm not inclined to grant it.
Why would that be?
I mean, well, first of all,
Why?
the Reef Road sale happened, it's pretty much, close by. I mean, it did sell for 505, but again, it's an unqualified sale. So, I mean, how trustworthy, I don't want to say trustworthy, that's the wrong word,
But I have a question, Peter. How do we know what makes it an unqualified sale? Do we know?
I don't know what that
I
means.
know it's not, I don't know what, so I mean, if you want to research that, that's fine, but,
For some reason, the town doesn't think it's an arm's length transaction, so they put the unqualified sale one next to it.
They make it up as they go along. So, and I've seen
What
the
is-
board
yeah, what?
as it happened to me. I end up in court because somebody didn't know how a transaction happened, and so they called it unqualified. So I don't go with that unless it's like if it was $1, if it was a really crazy number, I would say, well, it probably is on. Maybe it's a family member, whatever. But if somebody paid in the fives for it, I think the town might have miscalculated that. That 50, if it's 501, I don't think that would be unqualified, although I can't say for sure, but that would just be my opinion. We could,
Well,
we could,
subject property is only 1376 square feet. And the other one on Reef is 2688 square feet. So big difference.
there's a big difference there. So why should, if that's the, what did the town say that one was worth?
It's almost twice the size. 583 Reef.
The comp that he's using, yeah.
$694,
that.
400.
How much?
$694, 400 is what I'm seeing. I think I have the most recent data, but
right, 583 was appraised at 694, 400. That's correct.
And it's twice as big. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, almost.
Yeah.
It's 1312 square feet bigger.
Okay. I
583 Reef Road is available. Wait a minute, no. Hold on a second. This is crazy. It's 583 Reef Road in Fairfield is available for rent for the summer season is $20,000. Just a little tidbit there. It's all redone.
Okay. And I really don't have an issue, and how everybody else feels. I'm just speaking for myself. I really don't have an issue with the fact that it's in a different neighborhood, because exactly where is Helen Street? Refresh my memory. Isn't it down like off of Beaumont
Helen
and
Street, yes, it's
How
perpendicular
did
to those two streets.
Hold
How
on,
can-
guys. Hold on. I just looked up we're talking about 583 Reef not being a qualified sale.
Yeah.
Here's something really interesting. It was listed at 435,000 and it closed at 505. So what makes that unqualified?
Well, obviously multiple bids because multifamilies
All
for,
highest and best offers.
Yeah.
So this was.
this is Kathleen. I think I could be wrong, but I think cash sales are listed as unqualified sales just because maybe there's no, I can't remember what, but there are some that are legitimate sales that are marked unqualified, and there are reasons that they are. It's not like it's not an arm's length transaction. Ross has explained it before. I seem to think cash sales are listed that way, but I don't want to say that for sure. But there are certain ones, and usually they have it in the notes on the card, what it is, but they mark it that way. I don't know. He would have to, when he's here next, it's a pretty easy answer for him. So we just have to ask him. But I seem to think maybe cash sales.
So
Okay,
are
well,
you saying that a cash sale in the town of Fairfield is going to be marked unqualified?
We're going to have an awful lot of multi-million-dollar sales that are going to be unqualified because they're
Yeah, exactly.
so we're going to have a
40% have been cash.
Well, here I'm looking at the mortgage records. It says a mortgage for $567,000 was taken out in November of 21.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that
they
was
redid it.
okay. Well,
What?
are that I believe that a sale that's over asking does qualify as a qualified sale. I don't care what method of payment. If they use beads, I don't care. If you're paying more than the asking price, that should be a qualified sale. I also have an issue with Helen Street not being in the same neighborhood. Now, technically, it isn't exactly in that neighborhood, but it certainly isn't in Fairfield Beach either. Could it be further away from Fairfield Beach? It's closer to Reef Road than it is to Fairfield Beach. So I don't have any problem with that comp. So
I agree.
I'm thinking about it. You know, I just don't see the issue with, and again, it's a neighborhood thing, but that's just me.
I mean, it's tough to, there's only so many multifamilies areas that you can go to. Riverside has numerous properties like that, especially on that far end. When you're coming out to Fairfield Avenue there, which is
Yeah.
where that comp is.
Yeah.
And then that area right behind, the old Divorce Bakery back in there.
Yep.
And all similar quality.
Yeah, those
Right.
those neighborhoods are similar.
And of course Reef Road. But so this may have been a cash sale, but then they took a mortgage out on it, probably a rehab loan to redo this whole house. I don't understand that terminology, unqualified. It boggles my mind why it's called that, because whether it's cash or a mortgage, it's still green money that comes in and pays for the house. And if they paid, $505 for it, that's for a house that's twice as big as Reef Road subject property, then I don't know. I think that's something we need to look at.
It
Peter,
was
can you
as
repeat?
is condition. So you know what? That's another thing. It was sold in as is condition. They had to do a lot of work to it. And
Right.
size, I think it's indicative. I think it's a very good comp. And I think the 475 or was 450. Yeah, you know what? I am between 450, 475 over there, and I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, well, it's half the size.
450 is too low for the size of that lot, even if it was a tear down on that section of Reef Road. I think he's got a decent sized piece of property there, and I think 450 is too low. That's my thought.
How big is this lot? Let me look.
Are you thinking
It's not that big.
2019 and 2020, or are you thinking today?
2020. I mean, we saw a lot of appeals in this neighborhood last year, so I just think we didn't see, very little under that low on Reef Road for that much land.
Yeah, but he's got a long, narrow lot.
Yeah.
His lot is looks like it's 42 frontage.
We take a look
It's
at
long and narrow.
it's in a B zone. It's 60 square on the lot.
I don't know that that lot would be more than that.
How wide is that lot across the lane?
42 is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I don't even know if he would. Yeah, I don't think
So you wouldn't even be able to get a front to back duplex
No.
on there.
Nope.
I mean,
This is
listen,
happening
there's
to-
ones on
Right? Is
Old
the neighbor
Field.
I'm sorry. The neighbor at 581 Reef Road, did that sold for 500,000, 505? Is that the one we're talking about? That's the comp or no?
583.
83.
Yeah, I'm looking at, 583 is the comp. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
the 505. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the same, similar size lot, right? Am I looking at the right thing? It's like right next door. They both have those long, narrow lots.
Yeah, his is a little wider, 47.
Yeah, Peter, would you please repeat the ask?
The ask is 450,000.
And the current eval is
575, 100.
okay. Thank you.
I'd feel comfortable going to 475.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, 450 doesn't. Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I'm okay. 475 is fine. All right, so now Peter,
He's asking for 450.
right. So now we have to do that. Well, it's not even, is that a grant in part? We're raising it.
Yes, this is Kathleen. You're not giving him everything he asked for. So instead of granting it, you're granting it in part. So it's like a partial.
Okay.
You're not giving him his low amount. So you need to, right? Because he asked for 450. So we're amending his, we're amending what he asked for to a different number, whether that's I'd be more comfortable at 500, but we're 485.
This is Kathy. There is no motion on the table except for the lot that Paulette did at the beginning now. Peter didn't make a motion yet.
Okay. So,
I think you have to motion what they asked for first, regardless. You can't, right? Because that's what they asked for. And then you amend that to something.
why do we have to do that? We're not agreeing with that. We're just saying we'll give you this. We're making a to grant. Now, Peter can make a motion not to do that. It's, I'm not gonna. But if we were gonna do that, then why do we have to even bother? We're just to grant in part.
That's what the letters have always gone for years. From before, that's what we did. Is that you grant in part, or you deny, right? Those are kind of the three choices. And
Yeah.
usually a grant in part, I'll give them what they asked for. So that's usually how it gets recorded. How we actually motion that, I guess, that recorded is separate, but usually the motion is grant in part. So I guess if Peter just wants to make a motion to grant in part, I guess it's at least an affirmative, right? I don't know if that messes with Kathy's minutes. I know she's got to type all this up, so.
Yes, Peter was saying, Peter wasn't inclined to really do this. So you want to make a motion to grant in part, or do you just want to make a motion, you can't make a motion to not agree?
No, you can make a motion to approve in the affirmative at the 450. And
right.
One of
But
us
all
can
say
make
no.
a motion to amend it, and then we can vote on the amendment.
That's right. Okay. So Peter, what would you like to do? It's up to you.
Well, I'll make the motion for the request value, 450.
Okay. All right. So I'm having a hard time hearing. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk over you. So you're making a motion, because we have to do an affirmative, to grant the appeal at 450. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll second that. Now we vote.
Oh, wait a minute. Can we make an amendment before we vote?
No, don't we have to?
Now to amend it to whatever you want. So whoever's going to amend it, I don't know if Judy or somebody's going to make a motion to amend it to a different dollar.
I'd like to make a motion to amend Peter's motion on appeal number 2 to amend the amount to $475,000.
I second that.
Oh, okay. So now we have, the motion is now that we are granting in part to $475,000. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
1, 2. Peter, is your hand up?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's 5.
It's 5-1. Okay. So the motion carries to grant in part for appeal number 2 at $475,000 with Peter.
Wait, that motion was to approve the amendment, and then you have to.
I just can't do this. Look, this is it now. I'm changing. All right, I cannot go with this anymore. From now on, grant in part. So I'm skipping those motions. I'm going to make a motion to grant in part to $475,000. Can I have a second, please?
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor of granting in part to $475,000, please raise your hand.
Oh, God, help us.
Enough with the nonsense now.
So, Peter, are you abstaining or
I'm
opposing? Opposing? Okay.
So there's 5-1. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion carries with Peter abstaining. Nice and simple.
No, opposing, right?
I'm sorry. Nice. It is now just about 7 o'clock. Why don't we take that 20-minute break before we go into the next one, and we'll come back at, say, 7:20.
I motion for 15 minutes.
Okay, we'll do 15 minutes then. So we'll come back at 15. I don't care either way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
In a little while.
Okay, I'm gonna pause.
Okay,
I'm gonna mute.
I'm gonna mute and we're good.
Okay, it's on.
Before we get to the next appeal, I just want to say I was a little animated at the last vote, but let me explain that my plan was to use a simple modified form of Robert's rules. So what we're doing is using the full Robert's rules, which is convoluted, complicated, and not meant for small boards like ours. And it certainly isn't meant for something like this. This should be more informal. So that's why I did that. I couldn't take it anymore. So that's why I want to change it to, if we're going to grant in part, we just make the motion to grant in part. There's no law that says we have to do it the other way. And if the FOI doesn't like it, they can find me my $40 and I'll be happy to pay it. So whatever. But I think it's better to just make it. It needs to be clear. It gets so confusing. I don't know what we're voting for anymore. So that's why I did that. I just wanted everybody to know that. Okay, so now we're at still. I think it's Peter again. Let me look. Yeah, Peter, you're up with number 14.
Right, this is appeal number 14. It's 155 Berwick Avenue. And the appellant, the town has valued this property at $500,500, and the appellant has requested, they modified their request at the hearing to $445,000. Okay. And so.
Okay, let's see what we got.
So this, the appellant came in, they said they purchased this during COVID. The sale was 125/21. They said they didn't hear the noise being close to the highway. This is located between 95 and it looks like Kings Highway. So they claim they didn't hear the noise close to the highway. They also had a flood in their garage, and they lost some equipment, some damage there. Anyway, she said low taxes drew her to Fairfield. I think they came from Stanford. Anyway, she says she had known about the noise and the flood. She would not have paid so much. All right, they paid $475 on 125/21. Again, it was an unqualified sale for whatever that actually means. All right, it's this home according to, so anyway, according to the field card, the home is 383.7 appraised, but the town now has it valued at 505. It's got a 0.95 condition for the highway. It's on 0.115 acres, and it's 1,776 square feet. All right. So they gave some comps. All right. So basically, they're saying that their taxes on the neighboring homes are lower, and that's why they filed an appeal. So they gave comps 177 Berwick. And that is on 0.115 acres. Now, actually, let me just go back to the subject property. That actually was, looks like it must have been redone in 2020. So it's it says it's a new dwelling. On the
New construction.
Yeah, on 10/1/2020. So the Berwick is an older home, 1927, and that's 1,344 square feet. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 1/2 bath. 119 Berwick. That was built in 1916.
Peter, what appeal is this? I'm sorry, I'm gonna pull it up.
Number 14.
Thank you.
14, yeah.
Thank you.
14. Okay. Peter, I have a question. I don't mean to interrupt, but
No.
I'm going through the documents and I'm seeing that they have an appraisal.
Yep,
480.
What?
pardon me?
PO
Yeah,
number,
it was done December 12th, 2020,
okay,
for 480.
Right.
okay. Okay, go ahead, Peter, I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah. So, so the 119 Berwick, that one's appraised. That's again 0.115 acres, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, much smaller, 11, just over 1,100 square feet. And then the last one was 154 Berwick, and 0.172 acres, 1,200, a little over 1,200 square feet. Actually has a pool and garage on that one that, gives a little bit more value. And then in the appraisal that Paulette brought up, 80 Poe Court, that one sold for 475, and then Andrassy, which is on the other side of Black Rock, that was, sold for 517.9, and Old Stratfield Road sold for 490.
Well, what's the appraisal? I'm trying to get to the, what's the appraised value from the appraisal?
480,
480?
right?
Yes.
And he's asking for
445. 445,000.
445.
What I don't understand is why this appraiser used these comps. He didn't use any new construction, and there's plenty of or way newer than 14 years old and 18 years old in Tunxus Hill, over like off of Old Stratfield Road. There's a lot of new construction going on over there. I don't know why you didn't use that.
Well, let's see, when was this done? 12 of 2020.
Right.
And
I mean,
we said we weren't going to pick apart appraisals.
these comps in this appraisal, I don't think are any good.
Who's this dude?
But
Looking.
it is in an area that floods, and the fact that their brand new construction had flooding in the garage.
That's not too good.
Do we, is there anything on the field card for that being in that area where it does flood?
Yeah,
No,
no,
we
there
just said
really wasn't.
for highway 95, a reduction of 5% for highway noise.
Right.
Omar Arki. Let's see.
Well, again, if the appraiser, even if he didn't pick new construction, if he adjusted properly,
Yeah,
it should be all things being equal.
oh my God, one of his adjustments is 21%. That's a bit of a stretch.
What, you know what, Elaine? I think we kind of talked about like the appraiser. That, with his education, all that, we wouldn't really beat up the appraisal.
I know. That's what I feel the same way, that we were kind of leaning towards acknowledging what the appraisal.
Well, exactly. And because of that, I'm going to stay out of that. I may not, I don't agree with the comps either. However, I have to respect the appraiser.
Yeah.
Well,
It will for anybody else's,
I'll take it if we do it with, if we start going down that road, it's a slippery slope. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
My thought
I just want to point out that, I know, Greg Lane came to our meeting. He did say, appraisal is more of an art than a science. So there is some wiggle room. So I know, Judy, that you are, you want to support the appraisers 100%. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not, that's not where I am at. So, just letting you know that.
My thoughts so far, I look at this and I've been looking at the file. I personally am not inclined to go to the revised amount right at this moment, unless somebody talks me out of it. I am right now, they've given us an appraisal.
Yeah.
I am more inclined to go right with that appraisal at 480 rather than do anything else with it.
That's where I agree.
This is
Oh, yeah.
Kathleen. Yeah, the property
Favor of the
is
445.
it is FEMA compliant for flooding. It's got a FEMA compliant,
Right,
on it for that increase.
but
New.
that
It's new.
still, I mean, yes, for the house, but that still means, the garage was flooded. So I just wondered if there was anything on the field card for that,
I find it funny that the garages, I'm looking at the picture. It's in a flood zone, and yet they got them do the garage the way it is. No wonder
Yeah.
it floods.
Yeah.
Floods. Shouldn't be that way. But that's the building department, zoning. Okay, let's see now. Okay, so what's everybody think?
I would make a motion to grant to the appraisal's value of 480. So
Okay.
that's an
I'll
impart.
second that.
Yep. Anybody else have any thoughts? No? Okay. All those in favor of granting in part appeal number 14 to the appraised value of, what was it?
80.
It's 480.
For $480,000? Please raise your hand.
I see all hands except Peter's.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose.
Okay.
Okay.
You're going to oppose. Okay. So the motion carries to grant appeal number 14 in part to the appraised value of 480,000 with Peter opposing. Peter, I don't, you don't have to answer, but I'm always curious. And I think that the people listening are curious too. Why is it that you can't accept the appraisal, I guess is what I should say. Is there a reason? You have the right opinion, but I'm just wondering why.
Yeah,
Why
I don't think those comps were that great, so.
Okay.
That's really low.
Okay. All right, Kathy, can you read that back, please?
Yes, for appeal number 14, the vote to reduce the appraised value to 480, which is a grant in part carried with Peter opposing.
Hey, Peter, I think you're set for now. So I guess that means Kathleen is next with appeal number 12.
I can, but Judy had two at the very beginning that we skipped because we were doing the other one. Judy, did you want to do your two?
Oh, yeah, I'll do them.
What did we skip? Wait a minute.
I have two.
I just had that we were doing, she did her Catamount first, but then she has appeal number 69 and 75 that she didn't do. The Maserati and then 178 Dennis Road.
Okay, go ahead, Judy. I'm sorry. So we'll be doing appeal number 69.
All right, we'll do 69.
Okay.
All right, guys, this is an appeal on a value on a motor vehicle. It's appeal number 69. The owner is Alfred Del Bianco. He goes on Galloping Hill Road. He has a 2017 Maserati Ghibli. And the town's assessment, sorry, the way that this looks, it's on another sheet of paper, so bear with me. He's asking for a value of 27,000. And I am looking for, all I see is the vehicle cost is $30,500. He's looking for a fair market value of $27,000. This, as you guys know, this one is near and dear to my heart. And I think Paula gave this to me because I'm so much of a car person and an automobile person. I took a look at this. When the town appraises automobiles, they do it based on the NADA guide. And you may have heard of, let's see, you might go to Kelly's Blue Book, but the town doesn't go through Kelly's Blue Book. So, like a JD Power, so we don't go off of Kelly's, we go off of NADA. However, Mr. Del Bianco, I had a phone conversation with him. He's a really nice guy. This is a Maserati Giveaway, okay? And it's a Maserati Ghibli base. There are a couple of different Maseratis in this particular, from this particular style Maserati. There's a base, there's a base S, and then there's a base SQ, and then there's the Maserati Ghibli Sq4. The base has nothing in it. And the reason he bought it is because he got a pretty good deal on it. It's a 2017. He bought it at $30,500, but he also bought it with a lot of mileage on it. And it was 57,000 miles on it, which is a lot. The base car is not as valuable, not anywhere near as valuable as one with all the extras, especially the SQ4. And he purchased, he showed some pictures of the interior, which I thought were really interesting, and I thought were really sad because I also want a Maserati, and this one is beat to high heaven, and it bothers me. My car is mint, and this one has some issues with it. He's actually shown some pictures, and the back rear AC vent, the leather around that is chipped in 1, 2, 3, 4 different places. The bumper is all beat up, and he provided a photo for that. What the NADA guide doesn't, or what the town doesn't look at, is the mileage. And his mileage is, where did I put it? Where did I put it? He's now at 59. He was then at 59,000. Right now he's about 70, but then at this time he was at 59. And what happens there, if I were to look at it, I had my notes, just wait a second. It is common knowledge that you'll reduce the value of a car 8 cents for every 1,000 miles. And when I did those numbers, it seemed to be right in line. If you take a look with his request, and it kind of hurts me to give him that request because it hurts the value of my car, but I take a look at it, the last couple of pages, there's one where you'll see, it says on the, I think it's one of the last pages, and it's the 2020 NADA guide. And that will show you the Maserati Ghibli base, 2017, and this was based on the 2020 NADA. And a low number would be 32.9. So 32.9, I think the town had it at 33. So a low number there at 33 doesn't take into account all of the extra mileage, and it does not take into account the damaged bumper or the damaged interior, which is really sad. Okay. Oh, here I did it. Here's my paper. Okay. So the average mileage for a car is the Connecticut's average mileage per vehicle per year is 12,117. I looked this up. It is general consensus that it's 8 cents per mile as a discount or as a depreciation of value based upon each additional mile. So when I took the difference of 28, the mileage difference, I come out with a $2,880 depreciation. And that doesn't take until we take the 33,000 minus the 2,880. Now we're really at 30,000, and between the bumper, getting that done and getting the other interior piece work fixed. I know that's at least, that should be at least around 2,000, 2,500. But here's something else I also know about automobiles. And for you guys that don't know, I was actually an assistant Concord judge. And a Concord is when you judge all these fine automobiles. And I was an assistant judge. Okay, so you're someone coming from experience. So if there is, and for everybody in real estate, take a look at it this way. If you have if a house needs $50,000 worth of work, you know that the buyer is going to put a multiplier on that in order to purchase the house. They won't give, if it's $50,000 worth of work, they're going to say, you know what, then I'm going to give you $75,000 less, right? Because it's their time and aggravation. Same thing would go with a car. So when I look at all of those factors and I take into account the amount of money that would need to be done, the car is probably worth less than the 27 that he's asking for it to be valued at. And I think the 27 is very reasonable, especially with a high mileage and the maintenance on that car. So does anybody have any questions?
This is Paulette. I don't really have any, but I do want to say that I realize that the town uses the NADA book. And I was looking at my own car with the I was on town hall. And I asked why it is that they use that book when there's Kelley Blue Book, there's Edmunds, there's all these other sources. And a quote from the person I asked was, because it's valued higher.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I asked Ross the same thing, and that's what he told me.
That was wrong. That too.
Yeah.
Well,
So we do have quotes from Kelly's. I do have something from, here's another one. Here's one. It's for sale. It's in better condition at 29,000. And we know that this car is not worth that amount. I'm comfortable with the 27. And
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appellant's request to change the assessment to 27,000.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much.
All in favor of granting?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Did we discuss it?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'm just asking, did you get the NADA number? Judy, did I miss that?
Yeah, it's in it's in there. It's actually in there. So it's in the file, and I think it's the last page, and it's a very dark background. So if you wanted to look at it, so you're going to go down to you're going to go look at that page. It's dark. You're going to go down to the 2017. You see there's a 4-door sedan. Then there's a Ghibli S 4-door sedan, and then there's the SQ4. He's got the base model. The base model is the first one. And if you look on the value range on the right, you'll see low, average, or high. And even the low average is at 32.9. Okay. And the town had it at 33. So he's asking for the 27. And again, remember, I had looked up, you guys can look this up too, but like I said, average mileage in Connecticut, 12,117 per year. 8 cents per mile, that comes out to 28.80. So you take that out of the 33 minus the 28.80. And then you look at the pictures that he supplied with regards to the bumper and the rear AC weather And I think he is, he's reasonable in his request.
The other thing I wanted to say, I just thought of is, like we were saying, that the town uses the not a book because it gives a higher value, but that's not retail value because people don't look at that book. They look at Edmunds, the other ones we name.
That's
They look
right.
all over the place. So what's the point of using that book when it's not, it doesn't reflect market value, just like houses, we're looking at the fair market value. So I believe that the fair market value of that car is what Judy says it is, based on her experience, her knowledge, and the fact that the not a book we know is overvalued. That's just my opinion.
This is Kathleen. I think every town in Connecticut uses the NADA book, so they're
Oh.
probably trying to standard from town to town, so you're not registering your car in one town, you know, because they are using different values to value vehicles and all of that. So that would be my, you know, because it's a standard, I'm guessing, I don't know if it's required by statute, might be, I don't know, but I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, they don't jump around.
Actually, I think
Paulette?
I think
Go ahead.
no, I think it is required. Not required, but I think that's the standard that the state uses. It's not just the towns. And I agree that every town uses it. I'm not arguing they don't. My argument is it doesn't represent fair market value. Therefore, I don't give it any credibility.
Even if you did give it some credibility, with all of the other information that he supplied, he's right on the money.
Correct. It's a
His
hot car,
request.
but it's a mess. It's a
Right.
shame.
Carol, did you have a question?
Carol,
can we vote? We ready to vote?
I'm ready if everybody else is. Hey,
I
Judy, you
made
want
the
to
motion, it was seconded, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are back to that again. We don't have to redo it. We are at a second for that motion. So all in favor of granting the appeal at the appellant's request, please raise your hand.
Okay, I see everybody's hand. It's unanimous.
Thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thanks, Judy. What's your other one?
Okay. This is appeal number 75. The appellant's name is Michael Karafotis. The property is located at 178 Jennings Road in Fairfield. It is a multifamily. Townhouse is valued at $367,700. His opinion of fair market value is $310,000. And I'm just going to say what I feel.
Go ahead.
Okay. I like to help taxpayers. I really do. But you've got to give me some information.
Mhm.
Got to give me something to go on. His reason for the appeal was tiny lot, busy street. And yes, I know that. We all know it's a tiny lot. Yes, it's a busy street. Wrote on here, old dumpy house. The taxes are similar to a house he also has on Adelaide, which is also under appeal, but we're not calling, you didn't call that one for tonight. And it has a smaller lot, and this one is a busier street. One thing he did say, and I did not check it, he was under oath, is that the property itself has had some crime. So, you know, he is concerned about that and, you know, for his tenants. And I don't have any comparables. He did not give me any comparables. Just because I had a little bit of time, I did look at some comparables. I know it's not something that I need to do or have to do, and I don't even know whether it's okay. But I did look at some comparables, and you know, I see something on Old Stratfield Road that close to 290 within the period. Actually, just outside of the period in December of 20. I see something on Marble Terrace that closed at 319. That closed on January 24th, 2020. I see something on Barrow Street, close to 339 in December. These were about 1,600 square feet, you know, 1,500 to I'm sorry, Marlboro was 1352. And Old Stratfield was 1524. Beryl Street closed at 339 was 1584. And for your edification, the subject property is 1,534 square feet. I also saw something on Rutland Avenue that closed at 350.
So Judy, is it that perhaps his house, quote, being dumpy is significantly more deteriorated? I mean, I'm just curious because
It looks nice from the
are
outside.
higher.
It looks nice from the outside. These are the comparables that I found. He did not supply anything. Except all he did was, he told me that, listen, the location is bad. It's a corner lot. It's a busy street. There's lots of noise. There's a bus stop right there. There's high crime. And he did say he was going to bring in comparables, but I don't believe that he did.
So I'm looking at this listing. It had a new roof in 2008 and newer mechanicals. Two new efficiency gas furnaces installed in 2013. And even if you look at the photos, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it dumpy.
Okay, so you know what I'm trying to say here?
I get it.
He didn't prove his case.
He didn't, and as much as I would like to help somebody, if you don't give me some ammunition, it's hard for me to do that. So I'm going to make a motion to approve, and we'll see where everything falls. How's that?
Go for it.
All right, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the appellant request on appeal number 75. And that would be to reduce the market value to $310,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor of granting the appeal for at $310,000, the appellant's request, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I can't see everybody's hands, so.
It's unanimous.
Okay, then. The motion fails unanimously. Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Kathleen, I think you are next.
I think you're right. So let's see. Peter, you did your Berwick. I just didn't write that down. So this is appeal number 12. The property address is 67 Rakosi Avenue. The owner of the property is Helen Scala. The appellant was Helen Scala, and her husband Anthony was on the phone as well. It was a phone hearing. The town has a property valued at $457,000. They were unsure of how much they wanted to ask. So it took a while, but they came up with a number of $350,000. So this is a 1920s Cape. It's on a 0.37 acres. It's a smaller house. The square footage is 925 square feet. It is, let's see, it's been in their family since 1932. It's a rental property. She said that nobody wants, but it rents steadily for $1,600 a month. There's a smaller bathroom off the kitchen. She says she does get notes in her mailbox to sell, but she's not interested in selling. She thinks a contractor will just rip it down. She didn't provide any sales data and did not tell me what the contractors were offering, when they came to her property. So they're a very nice couple. I think, they said they'll work with us on the number, but they did not provide any sales comps or anything like that. So I did do a quick of another number that was a couple doors down that sold for $575 in December of 2020, similar size lot, and it sold for $575 in December of 2020. and it had previously sold in 2019 for 485. So one, they didn't really give me any comps, but to go from 457, if those two sales a couple doors down were, 575 and 485, it is a bigger house. And their land is valued at 399,000. It's 0.37 acres. So to bring them down to 350, I mean, I definitely don't see that over there. There's a lot of, new construction and things going on. And I think they're probably about right at 457, given that other sale.
I wouldn't agree that they're right at 457.5 or 457. They're not right at 457. They're also not right at 350.
This is Paulette. Here's my objections.
No comparables either.
What?
No comparables either.
They're in a B zone, and they're in neighborhood what? East of North Benson. There are no B zones, and there shouldn't be in that neighborhood. They belong in a different neighborhood, which would drastically reduce the cost of the land. So they might not be so high if they were properly coded into the right neighborhood. That might be enough to do it. They are in a B zone, so they're not in a B zone. So we can't even say they are in a B zone, but the town says they're not. So I can't even say, well, they could split that lot so it's really valuable, because according to this, that street does not qualify for this neighborhood. So I'm going to say if that's the neighborhood he chooses, they can't split this lot. You can't do that in an A zone. So I have a problem with their value based solely for me on the neighborhood. If it were me, and they don't know any better, but if it were for me, just for my house, that's what I'd be appealing. You have me miscoded. I'm in a neighborhood with far higher land value. They belong in Tungus Hill.
Where are you seeing that it's not a B zone?
It is a B zone, but it's classified as a B zone, and it is. However, he's got them listed in the east of North Benson neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods should not be in a B. Those are not B zones. They're A zones. We're talking about going from the side of North Benson that abuts Wormwood and Dill and all that, and going that way into.
So this is Tungus Hill. So
it's miscoded, and because this is why I don't like it. It doesn't match up with zoning. So I don't know what to say about this, but I cannot go with the town's value when it's wrong, when it's miscoded. The whole value of the property is wrong. I'm sorry, but it is. East of North Benson, value of 1.55. Tungus Hill.
That's wrong.
That's not a good designation for this property.
Certainly not.
No, it's wrong. So I don't know what you guys want to do. Does anybody have an idea? Because I'm not voting on this. This is just criminal, just like the other guy.
Why can't we look at comps?
They did not make their case. That's what I'm saying.
They didn't provide comps, so we're not supposed to be doing that and going after looking for the comps.
But we've done that. We've done that with a couple where we have.
Right. I'm just saying. I don't think that they need to come in with something that proves their case a little bit. So.
Well, can we ask this to be put into the proper neighborhood, like Tungus Hill? And that would change things.
Right. That's what I plan to do. You're right. They did not prove their case by supplying comps. However, and it's the burden of proof is on them. However, they are miscoded and cheated. Therefore, I will not deny them. I will just set it aside. What do we do? Set it aside, wait till later, whatever.
Postpone.
We will postpone this until I speak to the assessor, if that's okay. That's why I'm going to make that motion. I can't decide that. I'm going to make that motion. I make a motion that we postpone this appeal until we have a chance to talk to the assessor about the incorrect coding of the neighborhood, which then increases the value of the property. That may be enough to get it down to what's satisfactory, and then it'll be fine. It'll be fair, because it's not their fault that the town, although they're not to prove their case, they shouldn't be allowed to just do whatever they want either.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of postponing until we have a chance to discuss with the assessor, possibly get the neighborhood changed, to give them an accurate value of their property, please raise your hand. Again, I have no idea. So somebody's got to tell me how many people are voting.
Or including you.
Anybody opposed? All those opposed?
Kathleen and Peter.
Okay. So the motion passes, motion carries with Kathleen and Peter opposing. And I guess I don't really understand why, because clearly there's an error in the coding, but that's up to their.
Can you just refresh my memory here and tell me where you see the neighborhood code on the field card?
It's on the section that says, if I didn't have to keep turning it and standing on my head to see it,
I
it would be.
know.
No, just hit, the degree, turn it on the degree
I'm
thing.
on an iPad. I'm not having
There's
to.
the radius on top, right next to
At the
where
top.
right. next
So
to where
that motion was to change the price, not, was not to change the price. It was just to postpone.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's gonna do some research. If this is anywhere near in the same neighborhood as Wormwood, forget about it.
It's not. It's nowhere
It's
near.
not.
Oh, it's
No,
not.
Close.
then forget about it. It's wrong.
The
All right, so what's that
on
neighborhood
second
code
page,
again?
under landline valuation,
Wait, second page?
I think it's the second.
No.
Maybe it's the first.
neighborhood is 80.
First page.
Through.
Here's.
Land.
At the bottom of the first page, landline valuation. Second.
Oh,
Look about halfway down on the very last section of boxes. Halfway through the last section of boxes where it says landline valuation section.
Hmm.
This neighborhood. It says use code, description, zone, land type, land units, unit price, size adjustment, site
Oh.
condition, neighborhood, and neighborhood adjustment.
yeah, but how do you know which neighborhood that is?
Yes, that's how I know.
Listing of it.
Because what?
It's on the website. I don't know where it is on the website, but it is on the website. And I actually copied, handwritten, the neighborhoods. Like the number,
Oh.
80 is east of North Benson. Tungus Hill is something else. It's
I'm confused. So
Right.
within 80, within east
right.
of North Benson, there's B zoning?
no, that's what I'm telling you. It isn't. That's
Ugh.
wrong. This property-
There shouldn't be B zoning there. That's another reason why we know it's miscoded.
Yeah.
It's cockamamie. It needs, okay, straighten this out, Paula.
Okay.
And
the
then
street,
we can
I think once that happens, then they'll be able to see that a reduction.
yeah, there will definitely be a reduction. It may not be exactly
maybe.
what they want, but at least they'll get a reduction. They did not prove their case, but we can certainly make it fair for them. And
It'll be
you know,
fair.
we prove that. We don't have to worry about that. But to make it clear, that street that they're on will allow for B zoning. It's just not in the right, it's just coded wrong. So it is a B zone, but it needs
Yes,
to come to Tungus Hill, not east of North Benson.
yes, exactly.
And yet everybody on, just so you know, why I get so nervous about it, everybody like in Wormwood,
Kathleen,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Paulette, since it's my appeal, I'd be happy to ask the question of the assessor if you just tell me what it is you'd like to ask, and I will put in a request to him for more information.
Okay, we don't need information. What we need you to do is, if you're willing to do it, if you don't want to do it, if you don't feel strong enough, I'll do it. Put in a request saying that is miscoded. It belongs in Tungus Hill. Please change the neighborhood code and make the adjustment in the value. That's all.
And let us know what that value is.
Yeah, and then we can, then we can go. Then I guess, we can. I guess we don't have to really vote on the appeal because they didn't make their case. We just, it's like, I guess it's technically, Kathleen. I guess it's like a card correction. There's some.
Kathleen, I think that the difference with a card correction is usually that, like, they have one less bathroom than we have, or the square footage is wrong, or their basement's not finished. In this case, if I can explain it right, the neighborhood code is a it's a judgment error. It's a judgment call on the part of the assessor. It's not a card correction because he judged it to be in that neighborhood. So, the court appeals show that, you can't, card corrections are for actual like mistakes or things, but this isn't, for him, this is probably not, we may consider it a mistake, but he doesn't consider it a mistake.
But the power to the taxpayer who can do something simple, like say you're wrong. I don't have 3 bedrooms, I have 2 bedrooms, but only extremely astute and, diligent taxpayer would be able to present us with a case saying that their neighborhood code is wrong. So that's where I feel like it's our job to represent them in ways that they don't know what they don't know.
That's true. And the other thing is, let's say they did provide comps in this case, They're going to provide comps based on where they live, which are all the streets around them, none of which belong in that neighborhood of east of North Benson. So then they're going to come to us and somebody's going to say, oh, no, they use the wrong neighborhood. No, these values should be much higher. But they shouldn't be because it's the wrong neighborhood. They're not going to find comps that will justify the town's value. But then the week they come here and we're going to say, well, no, that's not the neighborhood. This is the neighborhood. We're going to pull comps that have nothing to do with that street. There's where the problem sometimes lies. And whether or
Yeah,
not
no,
anybody believes it,
no, go ahead and finish. I thought you were done.
what?
Yeah, no, so just so everybody understands, I think it's good that he will come tomorrow night, explain them to us, and we can ask him about them. I think that you have to understand that a neighborhood code is a grouping of properties, and that's all that it is for land valuing purposes. That's what the neighborhood code is about. It's not what we use, we all think of as elementary school neighborhoods or anything else. It's a grouping of properties to create a land curve to do mass appraisal. And so, he could have called it neighborhood 6 or whatever on the map. And if you look at other towns, they don't even do it geographically, the neighborhood codes. They code their neighborhoods based on similar properties that move in the marketplace in similar ways. So for example, you might have properties in one part of town that move one way and the other part, they're all about the same price or just different locations. So Fairfield happens to do their neighborhood codes geographically, but not all towns do it that way. So you just have to think, I think you have to think about it in both ways. I understand what everybody's frustration is because the land value should be more like Tungus Hill, but you can't just change one person. That's like reassessing the entire 4 or 5 streets, right? So we do it for them, we have to do it for everybody. And that's part of a reassessment process. I don't think
I disagree. I mean, I thought we're here to listen to appeals. So I don't really care what other people, what's happening with them. This is one appellant, no?
Yeah, so the way we would fix this person, probably we would not change their neighborhood code because that's a code that comes from the reval system, and that was part of the revaluation. What we would do is we would give them an adjustment on their land or do something else to bring the value of their house down, whatever that would be. But I don't think you can just start, sometimes there have been houses that'll show up like a beach house will be coded up in Greenfield Hill. That's obviously a mistake because somebody typed the number in wrong. That's the difference between a clerical error and an error in judgment. And I think what we're saying is error in judgment, which is different than a clerical error. And I don't believe, we have the authority. We can adjust to the sales price or whatever, but we can't redo the reval. We don't have that. That's not.
Well, I guess as long as there's notes. I see a section in here called notes. So if we are able to, if we can't change the neighborhood, we can change the condition to reevaluate where we think it should be. And in the notes, I guess it just says, something to that effect. Adjusting for incorrect neighborhood placement.
I'm not convinced that we can't change a neighborhood. I'd like to go back. I think we've changed it before. Pardon me?
I'm with you, Judy. I am definitely not convinced we can't change a neighborhood.
No, because this is clearly wrong. I would not make any corrections. I would get this fixed. And I would bet that if we looked at any of the 650 appeals we listened to last year or whatever, I am sure maybe at least one of them, I think there's some precedent for us to be able to change or us to direct the assessor to change the neighborhood code to where it should be.
Try 62 that were wrong. And most of them, and I know this wasn't done on purpose, it's just the way it worked out. Most of them were in favor of the taxpayer. People are being assessed and charged at an incorrect amount of money based on land value. That to me is inexcusable. And I don't care if it's a mass appraisal. Whoever's doing it should know what they're doing. You do not take the worst possible land value and raise it up to one of the higher ones. people that live in neighborhoods sometimes live in them because this is what they can afford. And then you go in there and you change it, their taxes go way up. To me, that's not right. How would you like it if we did it to anybody here? I wouldn't stand for it. Now, I think we can make them change it. We can't make them change the whole street. That's not what we're here for. We're here for the person who came to us and we noticed that there's an error. It is miscoded, it's wrong, and it needs change. And if we can't, I'll tell you right now, if we can't get that changed, I'll be sitting my butt in Brenda Kupchak's office this week because he doesn't work for us, but he works for her. I don't think she has any idea what happened with this. And if I'm sure he explained it, but I don't think I've heard his explanations and the other guy, Fazio. I didn't understand them. If I wasn't a realtor, I would not have understood what they did. And I have no idea why it was done, even by the last guy. In fact, Helene, when the last guy did it, we ripped up the paper and threw it away because it was wrong.
Yeah.
We're not
Right.
no. I mean, here we are.
Stephanie, maybe he will. Maybe he'll change it. I don't know. In the past, it's usually been other adjustments on the card, but you know, who knows? I think we can ask and see what he wants to do. I do have one more question on this, though. Can you guys tell me there was a sale a couple doors down for $575 on that street? So can you just tell me why 89 Riccozzi sold in December of 2020? That was the one I talked about. It's a bigger house, similar size lot, sold for $575. It was that. It looks like it's a qualified sale. If you guys can just explain to me, it's a Cape. Well, the subject property is a Cape, and it was built in 19. Yep, it's 89.
Oh,
so just
that,
you know, and value on that street.
Well, now again, I don't know why it was, but I can guess that part of it is because on the same street next door, it's also coded in the wrong neighborhood. So there's part of it. Then I don't know the rest of it because I haven't looked it up. And I don't know. I didn't.
Oh, yes. Oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember this house. It's absolutely mint perfection. And I pretty sure it was a gay guy that owned it. And
yeah, I sold it to him. I sold it to him. I know.
Did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
and then he became a realtor.
This was absolutely adorable.
Yes,
adorable.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and that the subject property can't compare at all.
All right. So,
Thank
Kathleen,
you.
talk to the assessor, or do you want me to? Well, actually, you know what? We won't have to. Let's postpone. He'll be here tomorrow night. We'll just ask him.
Yeah, we already did. Okay. Yep, it's postponed already, so we're good. Okay.
We'll ask the assessor tomorrow. But seriously, this has to stop. And my last point about it is, and then I'll stop, is let's look at Winton Park and Tanica Park. Very desirable neighborhoods, kind of private. They have associations. Tanica Park has a tennis court. Winton Park doesn't. They used to all be in the university area, so they all had the same land value. Now, Winton Park is in the university area. Tanica Park is east of North Benson. Their land value went down. How is that fair? It's not. It never moved. Nobody moved the street. Nobody moved the houses. Nothing changed, except that somebody decided that we'll just make this a different neighborhood. And so they get a better deal, and people in Winton Park don't. Not right. So all the university area, one amount. If you want to make it lower, fine. If you want to make it all higher, fine. Whatever it is, it is. But it's not two different things. Let's go on to the next. Who's next? Oh, Kathleen, you're next. 12.
I think it's me. So let me see what number's next. Let's
15,
see.
right?
Yep.
This was postponed. 295 Pequot Avenue, I think. So do you guys see appeal number 15?
Yep.
Let's check. Okay.
Okay. So
right.
I'll just read this into the record. Appeal number 15, the property address is 295 Pequot Avenue. The owner of the property is Helen and Burke, LLC. The appellant was Ilhami Palik. He's the, agent of, or whatever, of the owner. The town has the condo valued at $494,600, and he's requesting a value of $400,000. This is Sammy's Pizza, if everybody knows where it is in Southport. It's a small shop and family business. He said that he intended to appeal last year, but he missed the date. It is a family business, so he does not rent it out himself. But on his I&Es or whatever, I think he said he rents it to himself. You know, what he submits to the town is for $2,500 a month for the pizza business. Yeah, I asked him if he had, you know, any idea what the market value was, and he said no, he doesn't intend to sell it. He didn't really look for other sales. He just said that last year, actually, I did ask him if he were to sell it, might he consider a price? And he said 600,000, but he didn't provide anything to back up that number. And his primary reason for the 400,000 ask is because last year the BAA granted the property next door at 293 Pequot Avenue a reduction from the same value of 494,600 down to 400,000.
Oh,
Let me see that.
Was that the
That was
one?
that thing
Interesting, Kathleen. What was the property next door? That was a business. That was not a restaurant with all the equipment.
I'm confused
This is
about.
Kathleen.
well, I think it's the insurance company.
That's what I thought.
No,
No, I think it's the one where the store had been. It was a storefront like this, and it was vacant for like over a year. I think that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the bookstore, the one that had the books.
No,
I-
there was an interior designer in there for a while.
I think wasn't that. Was the owner Kathy Brandenburg?
Kathleen, it was a Fingelli property. One of the Fingellis owns it. Kathy Fingelli was the appellant last year.
That's right. That's right.
So she provided some comps last year, and she also talked about the fact that she had been getting like $3,300 a month in rent last year, but that she, you know, that hers was in and out of rent. So she had kind of two arguments last year, if anybody remembers that one. One was about not being able to keep tenants because of COVID, and the second was, you know, she had a couple of sales that she showed last year. And he didn't provide any of that. I just remember that from last year. And he said basically, if she's got it same size, I'm the same size as she is, and therefore I should have, you know, he wanted to be at 400,000 as well.
So this is, it looks like this, like one building, but there's two separate.
Yeah,
shops.
that's interesting that everybody owns a different parcel, even though they're all stuck together.
Right. So
They're
it's,
condos, right? They're commercial condos.
I was just gonna say they're like condos. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He did provide a comp, which is his
Oh,
next
yeah.
door neighbor.
about as close as you can get.
That
Yep.
is the comp.
That
He's
wasn't
not-
a sale.
He's not
That
appealing.
wasn't a sale. It wants
Right.
what his neighbor had.
But there
right?
are no.
Doesn't have to be.
I didn't have a sale either, and my comp was the neighbor, which had a value similar to this deal. Adjacent neighbor.
This is Kathleen. We hear that argument all the time. I want what my neighbor has, right? And then, you know, I always say, look, your neighbor might be too low, your neighbor might be too high. We're trying to figure out what your value is and what you would have sold for, because often, you know, it's not perfect.
Yeah, but this
so.
neighbor happened to just get the appeal last year, which is different from a neighbor that hadn't had a valuation from an independent board for 10 years.
I think it's
The
excellent.
next door is a commercial,
Yes.
commercial and vacant. This is operating and it's got all this restaurant equipment. It can't possibly be the same price as the one next door. Can't possibly be.
But people,
Much more in it. I don't know how much more, but it can't possibly be that same price.
And also, I think, and I'm not mistaken, I think he has restrooms in there. She doesn't have that. She has no restroom, and I think his might be even a little bit bigger because he's got tables in there and it's functioning as a restaurant. I mean, I have to look up her footage, but
Size.
pardon?
He told me it
Are
was
you
the same
saying-
size.
are you saying you
Yeah.
granted the one next door last year because
Yes.
it was vacant? I mean, they're granted relief from the federal government for landlords were granted relief. So
But it's not fit up. It doesn't have any interior improvements. This one has got extensive interior improvements.
Yeah, that one is
Okay.
the
that's
store.
different.
Yeah.
Left. They just took their stuff and left.
Right. We value commercial property in two different ways, right? You can use the sales approach, but you can also use the income approach. And so in this he has a functioning business, and even during COVID, the pizza business is a pretty steady business, and he has a pretty regular business. He's not like a restaurant that is kind of, taking tenants in and out. So if you were to use, whatever the cap rate on his property would be, I think that it would out somewhere, close to where he actually is and not at the 400.
Okay, excuse me, just one last
I know it's
question. The
Okay.
interior improvements, those aren't classified as personal property for a commercial business?
Yeah, that was my concern too. This
I'm
is not
just trying to separate this and make it apples to apples.
Okay, I was involved in trying to sell commercial property just before I stopped working, but it was a deal where the person, like for example, Sammy's. This was a restaurant, so Sammy's has a pizza oven. They've got other stuff. They've got kitchen equipment, and the guy was trying to sell it with all the equipment in it because you can't really pull it out. So you could pull out the refrigerator, could pull out some things that are easy to move, like in a regular house, things that aren't fixtures. But some of that stuff, you really can't take it out. It creates so much damage that nobody does it. So the stuff that's set for the tables and chairs and his menu stuff and his, his utensils and stuff like that, the big equipment that costs money, the pizza oven, there's something, their vent hood is something special that you can't really take it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of equipment that is made to stay. So they don't take that. They sell it with the business. So technically that is his to make money on if he does sell his business. Or the building, if he wants. This guy was selling the building, not just the business, the one I did. So if he wanted X number of dollars, and that included those big fixture items, because you can't take them out.
But is he getting taxed on his personal property of all those things? That's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yes, this is Kathleen. Yes, he's both the owner of the property, and then he also pays personal property taxes from the business, right? This is his commercial.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not double dipping. That's all.
No, he pays real estate taxes because he owns the condo, but then he also pays personal property taxes. So if he had a tenant in there, the tenant would be paying personal property taxes, right, on whatever it was.
Right.
And then sold it to make things, more complicated, but.
But someone told me that the one next door didn't have a bunch of stuff in it. And so I'm just trying to make apples to apples. So that's okay that it doesn't, because his personal, his stuff, pizza stuff, is being accounted for as a personal property.
Exactly. Right. Yes.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm getting anal here, but I'm just trying to understand it.
That's okay. These are not easy to do.
So if the one next door is the comp and didn't have any stuff in it, we can compare his to the right side because his stuff is already accounted for and being taxed as personal property at the same mill rate. So we can kind of remove his equipment from this analysis. Don't throw it in.
That's a good point.
I agree with that.
I'm not
But
convinced.
he is running a business there, so he's getting, even though he's his own tenant, right? He's charging himself rent or whatever. He's charging the business back rent, right? The LLC is charging, Sammy's Pizza or whatever the thing. So he owns the condo, but he's, in his his declarations, he's charging rent. So.
Okay, that's okay.
When we look at businesses, right, when we value businesses, it's a whole, whatever his name is from MDS gave a really good presentation to the Board of Finance last year about how he went about valuing commercial property in Fairfield when he did the revaluation and the different methods that they use. And it's very, you can use the sales approach, but most times for commercial properties, they use the income approach. And it's just a different way of looking at the value of a property. And so you have to probably look at both. You don't necessarily pick the lower one. You figure out, what's the best value for that particular property? What method are you going to use to value that property? And he's got a running business in there. So, I would argue from both ones, the income approach is the most appropriate way to look at it. He just owns the property himself.
I also think that whatever you guys are deeming as personal property, remember, it is at this point, it's a fixture. Because if you remove it, you're gonna make big holes in the wall and the ceiling and everywhere, right? Isn't
Yep.
that the gauge for a house? If you
Yep.
remove it and it makes a big gaping hole, guess what? It belongs with the property.
It's a fixture.
It's a fixture.
Okay, as opposed to, computers and desks and
A
furniture.
computer, you can
Okay.
pick it right up. That doesn't
Yeah.
count. We're not talking
I
about,
hear ya.
we're talking
I hear
about all the equipment, the cost of removing, the cost of buying it again and having it installed, plus the extra bathrooms, right? So,
Yeah, okay,
I'm not seeing this as comparable to the next door neighbor.
okay. So with your income approach, Kathleen, what is it?
Well, because he doesn't actually have rent. He had $2,500 a month for, you need to know his net income and then use an appropriate cap rate for his property. So if we want I'm not that comfortable talking about all of that for commercial properties. Catherine was the one who kind of helped us through all of that last year. I did ask her, what would you use for a cap rate on a pizza restaurant? And she said probably like, around 6 or 6.5 because it's a steady business. The pizza business is steady. It's not a high-end restaurant that turns over easily, and it's in a small space, so you can crank out a good business in there. So that was her recommendation. But if we want to have more conversation about, because we have other commercial properties, right, that people have heard already, so it might be helpful to have the assessor explain a little bit of that, if he's going to be on the call tomorrow night, so we can all understand, what that property, what's leasehold improvements, what's the, what stays with the place, what's the personal property. But, I tend to think he's got a pretty good business there, so.
I'm a little confused myself here. The more I look at it, the more confused I get. First of all, he's got residential checked as the type of appeal, but it really isn't because it's a commercial building. Although he's not appealing the business, he's appealing the building.
Right.
So I
Value
don't
commercial property.
Right, but we don't need an income approach because we're not looking at his business. We're looking at the building.
Correct.
And that building is a condo. And so the other condo, we said it was 400,000. Now, I think I've been in Sammy's. I haven't been in there in a long time. I don't know. I think they have bathrooms, but I can't swear to it. She has no, hers was small, one room kind of thing. It was a little bit different. So maybe the value of his shouldn't be 400. But if he's got rooms, I think he has to have them if he's a restaurant, if I'm not mistaken. That increases the value of the space because if he moves out, then who's ever going to go in there has the benefit of those bathrooms. I don't really know. I'm having trouble deciding, but
I got the answer. Guys. Okay. Because it's right on that appeal. When you start a meeting, Paulette, some of the verbiage that you say that has been stated for every single BAA meeting that I've seen this year or all last year, for all appeals properly brought before the board, right?
Yep. I say that every time.
Look at this appeal, look under letter A, property information, property type is residential, and it's a commercial property. Would you say that this is properly brought before the board?
This is Kathleen.
No.
The form automatically defaults to residential. The way it was designed, the residential dot is checked. So he would have had to cross the dot out and check the commercial. So it's reason it's pre-filled residential. I don't know why it's that way. It probably, we shouldn't do dots.
I'm not voting for this anyway. I'm not convinced here. I don't look at the property next door that has been vacant. I'm not looking at that as a comparable. And just because I'm not seeing that. I don't think there's enough information for him to get it at 400,000. I appreciate the request, but personally, I'm not I'm not for it. You can get all the information that you want, but I'm not saying this. That's all.
Thank
And
you.
I'll be quiet.
Okay,
I'm not clear whether we're just comparing building space to building space, or we're comparing a business operating successful business to I think we're mixing them up. I really do.
so too.
The fact that that
I
person
think
who
you
owns
are
the real
clear.
estate also has a pizza business is that we're allowed to do that. But
I think the way you stated it earlier, Carol, is very clear. You know, I think you should stick with that. You said it perfectly. This is not a personal property evaluation here. This is, well, residential / commercial building assessment appeal.
yeah, so empty building to empty building, I don't care what's going on inside that building. That's the commercial side. He has a commercial business which is being taxed. We're talking about the building itself. And if we want to give some value to the bathrooms, of course we'll all agree with that. But we're just talking about a shell of a building with a shell of a building that shares a wall. I don't understand why it would be that much different.
I mean, I'm sure probably most of us have been in Sammy's Pizza. I think if there is well, there probably is a bathroom. They have to by law. It's probably behind where they make the pizza, and all the employees and the drivers and everybody uses it. And it's probably a gross little, you know, gas station type bathroom. It's nothing luxurious like a restaurant bathroom, I can assure you. And Sammy's Pizza is not glamorous inside.
This is true. Bare bones pizza.
Again, I'm going to talk about the personal property as opposed to fixtures. It could have been personal property, but once it is installed, it becomes a fixture. You remove it, you're going to damage the building. So,
You know what? That happens every single day in commercial sales. Someone comes in, they buy a building, it's got stuff in there, they rip it out, they redo, even restaurant to restaurant. They don't like where the bar is, they don't like where you know, how the kitchen is set up. They'll redo everything, so it doesn't even matter. I mean, even if it comes with the sale and you think, well, that can never be moved, it definitely, it does get moved. People do build outs their own way to their own liking. I mean, that happens all the time.
and it happens all the time that it stays and it makes the property more valuable for the buyer. So I've sold a number of restaurants and I've sold bars in the past. You remember Mackenzie's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sold that to Fabrio, Tommy's. That's one of them, one of the many restaurants that I sold over the number of years. Right. So that was all the same. That was an operating restaurant. And he didn't change anything. He just changed the name. So that's as an example.
They tend not to change the stove, the oven, the stove, whatever you want to call it, the big stove, the commercial stove, and they tend not to change the hood, the two biggest and most expensive things, because it does it. It creates a big mess. They're expensive. Like my client was going nuts because he wanted the hood left. He did not want that stuff taken out because it would have cost him a fortune to retrofit it. Something about the venting on the hood is a big problem. Is a big deal. It's really expensive. Not a problem, but it's a big deal. It's really expensive. So I agree with Judy. At least those two things, which are the most expensive things, stay. Everything else can go. The freezer. And a lot of times,
what we're comparing. We're comparing $400, 400,000 granted last year to the next door unit versus what's the ask?
He wants 400,000. 494.
And what is it currently?
494,600.
This is Kathleen. Remember, I asked him if he were to put it on the market, what he thought he'd sell it for, and he said maybe around 6, but he's not interested in selling 600,000.
Yeah,
selling the business.
That's a move.
I'm confused. Was it the building and the business, or just the building?
I don't think it. I mean, I don't know. I didn't ask him that. I didn't get into that level of detail.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think that's.
I guess.
It doesn't matter because you asked him, Kathleen, for today's value if he was going to sell it at 600. Remember, we're going back to 2020.
I asked him how he came up with 400, and he said because the neighbor has it. That's what he's saying. You know, that he didn't provide any backup or anything else. He wants what the neighbor has. That was his argument. And,
Yeah.
you know, and again, we value property based on the income approach. You know, most commercial properties are based on the income approach. They're not based on the sales approach. We have a lot of we don't have a ton of, well, we do have a decent amount of commercial property in town, right? We have large apartment buildings and condos. We have, you know, Marshalls, whatever. We have, most of those are all valued through the income approach. Most businesses are valued that way. You can use the sales approach, but even usually that's the square footage sales for businesses and things. So in general, just using a sales approach for an operating business is, you know, I think we need to look at both of those approaches and decide which is the more appropriate approach for this particular property. And Finnegelli, you know, your next door used the income approach because she wasn't getting any income when she argued her property. So she was vacant.
Yeah, but she was getting money back from the government.
I don't think she was.
I highly doubt that. As a business owner, I highly doubt that. But anyway, Kathleen,
Do you want me
it's
to
your
make a
appeal.
motion?
What would you like?
Well, I'm just going to make a motion and I'm not going to grant in part, so and I can't deny, so I'll just make a motion to grant the appeal in the amount requested by the appellant of $494,600.
No, it's 400,000.
I'm sorry, the town's value, yeah, to grant the appellant's request and reduce the appraised value to $400,000.
Okay. I'll second. Let's get that done. All in favor of granting the appeal at 400,000 as requested by the appellant, please raise your hand. I can't see it, so someone's got to tell me.
I'm raising my hand.
I am
I see Helene and Carol have their hands up.
Okay, so wait a minute. It's Helene,
All
Carol, and who?
That's it.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Oh, okay, 2 in favor. All opposed. Who's opposed?
Judy, Kathleen, and Peter.
I'm going to abstain because I'm not comfortable with this appeal. I'm not clear on what we're doing. And I think that, you know, I'll just abstain. I'm not, he can, when
Okay.
that kind of a, with the motion not carrying, he can go to court. I think that's a better place for him.
Okay.
I just think that's just my opinion. So I'm going to abstain. So the motion does not carry. Peter, Kathleen, Judy are opposed. Paulette abstains. Okay. Next. Number 23.
Last one, do we have any more? Is that it?
No,
Or
we all have more.
How many more?
Well, actually, I had
But
5.
one of them I just got answers to today, and I haven't had a chance to review the answers from the assessor's office. So, but
Which one
I
was
think
that?
we can't. Number 14. I'm sorry, number 23.
Okay, so 23 has to be moved. Okay. All right. How about?
No, I think I can do 23.
Oh, okay.
Let's do that one.
All right.
It's
23.
the Meadow. It's the Long Meadow Road one number that I think I need one more day so I can read what the assessor put in there. There's some maps and things. It's a little complicated. So
Okay.
if we can wait on 8, but I'll do 23, and I do have another one to do if you want. So instead.
You want to move? You want to move 38 to tomorrow or Wednesday? Tomorrow is Wednesday. So
Yeah,
will you be-
exactly. I should be ready by tomorrow. I'm just not ready right now.
okay. All right. I'll move it over. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Paulette, have you
And
given us Wednesdays?
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 of them on there now. I wanted to check before I did. Peter, are you here tomorrow?
Yes, let me just, 5:30, 5:30 to 9.
Okay. And everybody else is here? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I can finish this.
Okay. So do you want me to do
Okay.
23?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is appeal number 23. The property address is 34 Post Road. The owner of the property is Ramp LLC. The appellant, and I'm going to not get the name right, Rahul Chakravarti. The town has the property valued at $1,010,600, and he is requesting that the penalty be waived for his late filing. So again, and this is a commercial property, 5790 square feet on 0.3 acres. If you're coming from Black Rock into Fairfield, it's that first building on the right-hand side, right after you cross over Ash Creek, kind of across from One Post Road. For whatever reason, the technical address in the system is 34 Post Road, but his mailing address is 2 Post Road. I think most people think of it as 2 Post Road. So again, he owns the office building with a partner. And I guess because of the addresses and things, he didn't get the notice on time. He didn't get the first one. The second one came late with a problem with the mail. So he ended up with a penalty of $70,000, which is what he thought that he owed. I think, I'm trying to remember, it's a different percentage for the real estate than it is for the personal property. But I explained to him that his penalty isn't $70,000. It's, you know, the mill rate times that, which is about $1,900 would be his penalty. And he was worried that it was going to stay for the next 4 years. And I said, no, as long as you file on time next year, you know, that the penalty is it's not going to carry over for the whole time. So I did confirm with the assessor's office that he did file his I&E, but it was in fact filed late in July of 2021. So basically, same thing as what's similar to the personal property. We don't have the authority to waive the penalties on this, and he was late.
I find that sad that we can't waive the penalties, because this is the third one that said that they didn't get the notice on time. So I tend to start believing it when I hear it over and over and over again. And then they're not really responsible. They didn't get the notice. I don't think they're responsible for filing late. You want me to pay your bill, you send me the bill, I send you the money. You want me to pay that? You want me to file it? You send me what I have to have, and I file it. So this is the third one. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but I'm starting to wonder if these really were all late.
Well, I think with this one, there clearly is confusion with the address. You know,
Yeah.
34 Post Road versus 2 Post Road, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's, I mean, I'm kind of confused. Why are we even listening to these if we can't, if we don't have the power to change the penalty? Why are we even discussing it?
Because everybody has the right to appeal, to a hearing to appeal. We can't say, no, we won't hear it, you screwed up. So we have to, we could decide not to accept it, but we still have to hear it.
Did you establish with this appellant where most of his mailings and bills, et cetera, are, which address that they go to 2 Post Road or 34 Post Road?
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I think he went into the assessor's office and fixed it. I've got the old field card, and I think it was going to his partners. They purchased a property in 2018, he and his partner. So, and they renovated the property. So I don't know how much time they were there, where the mail was going. But the mailing address, at least on the old field card, I think that's what I have in my hand, is 650 Daniels Farm Road in Trumbull. And so it could have been going to his partner's house, and his partner wasn't looking for it. So I think I'd have to look at the new field card now. If you look at the Vision, what Vision has online, I think the address is now 2 Post Road. That's not the field card. Where's the field card? So we went into the office together, and he went down. Let's see. Yeah, the mailing address is now changed to 2 Post Road, which is technically the correct mailing address. But I did check with the assessor's office as to why it's 34 Post Road, and they said that's just the location of the property. That's what it is. So that location, he could probably go through some process of getting it changed legally. You'd have to do it through engineering and a variety of otherwise. But that parcel address is 34 Post Road. So he has a mailing address at 2 Post Road. So he's since fixed those issues. He wasn't arguing the price at all. I mean, anything about that. It just was the penalty. And maybe I think most people, when they come in, they think he thought he had a $70,000 penalty. And so that was enough for him to come and try. Yeah. but it's not. It's the mill rate. So as soon as you explain it to them and you do the math and say, no, you just have to pay taxes on 70,000 more.
But still, that's $2,000, which is the same as some other people's home appeals. I mean, I'm still unclear. If we have no authority to change this, why are we discussing it when we could be discussing something we can change?
Thank you, Carol. I was about to say that.
Hello.
Do anything about it. It's like, okay, well, I'm sorry, but we can't do anything about it. Let's move on. Let's be productive.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve his request to waive the penalty, and then we can vote, right?
Okay,
So
yep.
I'll make that motion, number 23, to waive the penalty.
Okay, I second it.
Okay, all in favor of waiving the penalty, please raise your hand.
I'm on the record that I wish I could, but I can't.
I wish I could too.
Yeah, me too.
Something's wrong, but we can't prove it, so we have to let it go.
Okay, let it
Okay,
go.
all opposed? Oh, all opposed.
Unanimous.
Okay,
Well, opposed. I'm sorry, opposed.
Judy?
there it is, that's me.
Okay.
It's unanimous?
Yes.
Motion fails unanimously. Next. Does that mean Helene's up?
I think I can do number 87, even though it wasn't on my list for tonight, if you want me to do that one.
Number 87. Okay, because I think the next one for Helene, they're both, we need to do two, not one, and I don't know that we're gonna have time, so. Okay, do 87.
And I have
Do 87.
Well, let's see if we can get 87 and that other one of Helene's in all tonight. Okay, number 87, Kathy.
Yeah, I'm not, whatever. I didn't review it before, but I think I can do it. So it's appeal number 87. Property address is 1894 Cross Highway. The owners of the property are Bernard and Cynthia McDonald. The town has the property valued at $2,649,500. They're requesting a value of $2,100,000. And when they appealed, it was both of the owners in addition to their attorney, Bill Fitzpatrick. So if you look at the backup for this, I'm just going to read off my notes without pulling it up, but they they purchased the property in 2020 in the reval period. It was a well-negotiated transaction, arm's length. It was on the market for over a year with a couple of price reductions. It's not a bank sale. It's not a family sale. She said they never met the owners, and it went to contract on 7/22/2020, and it closed on exactly October 1st, 2020. And I believe, I didn't make a copy of it, but I think there's an appraisal in the backup. Anybody got that? If anybody's looked at the backup.
Wait, but it closed, the purchase price was the purchase price is their ask price.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And their
Yeah.
purchase price was
I'm ready to
on
agree.
the day of the,
Right, on our last day.
okay?
Okay,
Yes, and they included a copy of the sales agreement.
yep, the contract's there. Okay, I don't continue to.
I'm ready
This
to
is a
go.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
It's a no-brainer. Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to grant this appeal and reduce the requested value from the town's value of $2,649,500 to the appellant's requested value of $2,100,000.
I'll second. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Peter actually showed a hand. Oh,
I
gosh.
did, but
It's a
Wait,
first
take
thing
a
I've
picture.
seen all night. Oh, God.
Screenshot it.
Is it unanimous by any chance?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes unanimous. Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Next, Helene, which do you want to do? Number 21?
Yeah, I'll do 21.
13 and 20 go together, so I think.
Yeah, this will be the last one then tonight.
Okay, very good.
All right, this is appeal number 21. The appellant's name is Patrick Carrero, and the address is 185 Ronald Drive. Oh, poor Patrick. His wife is on this tax record, and she is deceased. Barbara is no longer. So it's interesting. This guy has field cards dating back to 2006. If you scroll down, you'll see it. His house was built in 1954. And at that time, his field card showed square footage of 1,411 square feet. When they did the reval in 2015, that 14 and 11 square feet jumped up to 1,542. And then in 2020, the 1,542 jumped up to 1,762. Since he's had the house, he's never put an addition on. He said it's nothing fancy. He's every evaluation in the last two valuations, he's increased in square footage, and he said he's been trying to get the town to correct it. But if you look, his 2006 field card shows 1,411 square feet. And most people don't have their field cards from 2006, I would say. He said that they have him, he said they have a shed in the back, but he said it's like a rickety old thing. It's nothing fancy. It's like a Pep Boy shed that is, gonna fall down. And then you'll see he's got handwritten notes here, basically just what I'm saying. But I'm just wondering, his valuation from the town is 478.9. He's asking to go to 320,000. I don't know how much it's going to change things to correct his square footage. And I asked him, did you ever have somebody come out and measure? He said, no one's coming in my house. I said, well, I respect that. I certainly do. But if his original field card showed 1,411 and has shown no additions at all, then why is the square footage keep jumping up?
I say, I see a somewhat of a solution there.
Go ahead.
So when I look at the 206 field card and I compare the building sub-area summary section, right? It doesn't, it has the 1411, and that's that. But there's nothing about the second story. We all know that splits and raised branches are like, so messed up with square footages. And I think they probably had a different method of calculating square footage on a split back in 2006. And they did not count the second floor. And I think he got away really I think he got away with it. I mean, from 2006 until they actually added the extra space. So when they did that, or when they recalculated it, that 1411, I'm not quite sure where they came up with in 2006. But if you look at this, first floor 1,033, upper story finished, I'm not sure that either one of them is really correct, but you see,
Well,
we have an
yeah,
upper story that's finished at this point, and we didn't have it in the 06. So there is a change there, even though we didn't build it. The exterior was there, but they just didn't put the upper story as done. I'm not convinced that that's, yeah, actually, that would be, think about it. 400, I'm not quite sure that would also either be 729 square feet, because if you just take that second story section, it's not listed that way in the field card where you can actually look at it. But as a matter of record, if you take a 2-car garage, a 2-car garage is like about 22 by 22, somewhere around 20 by 22, 400 square feet, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you take a look at those 2-car garages and just move that other garage, you see the garage, the addition,
Yeah, to the right.
the garage
Yeah.
that's part of it, and then the other part. Really? Okay, so I could see right there about 400, then we can add a little bit But I don't see that as 729 square feet on the second floor above that garage and that other window there. So
Yeah.
I don't think the 729 is correct. I don't think the 1411 was correct. I think it needs to be remeasured.
Yeah, why is he just, no way, no one's going into his house?
No,
They
no,
measure outside.
he does not.
Um,
So,
So this is kind of, looks like his gross area, right, which should be the entire, you know, right, because they measure on the exterior. So often you can look at the gross area to see the changes, and the gross area on his old card is 4,040, and the gross area on his new card is 3,744, and it includes a wood deck that I don't see unless that's the patio on his old one. You know, I'd have to print it out and go line by line for the different codes. I think Judy's right. I think they just changed how they were classifying and counting square footage. So yes, you know, if you look more at the gross area, you know, it's actually less gross area than he had before, and it does have a deck. So I'd have, you know, line by line, you'd have to look at each one together, but.
Guys, if I just did the math, he's arguing $410 in taxes between 335 to 320.
Wait a minute.
wait,
Isn't there-
what are you saying?
At 335. He's
Wait,
at 478.
okay, it's actually less than that because that's the appraised value. That's not even the assessed value. I mean, he's asking for a $15,000 reduction. Take that 15,000. I guess you're right. You take 15,000 and you multiply times 0.7.
He's asking for more than that.
Maybe he got his numbers wrong. Like, is he using the assessed value for one and the appraised for the other, or using two? I don't know. Something's not
I'm
right.
looking on the form.
His
It's
town
for both
value
on.
78,900, and he's asking to go 320.
Yeah, and the
No, but-
town's value is 335.
Wait a minute, where are you?
Assessed.
Yeah, I look right at it. Here's
Looking
what
at
I'm on the petition page.
I'm
Oh, it
looking right at it too, Carol. You're right. My
So
thought
if I-
is,
So if I take $15,000 difference and divide times it by 0.7, we're at $10,500.
No,
And
he's that. You know what? He filled that out wrong. That the appraised value right now is 465.5.
Oh,
so he did it from assessment to assessment. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He didn't do it appraisal to assessment. He did assessment to assessment, right?
okay. Then I go back to my original thing.
Exactly.
If he's saying assess 320 versus assess 335, you multiply $15,000 difference times the mill rate, and it's $410. I mean, it's not like, I mean, no offense, it's not. I'm not saying it's monopoly money, but if he won't let us into his home, to you know, with all due respect, to understand what is happening in his home, I'm not sure how we're gonna get to this correction.
This is Paulette. First, I just want to say that I just looked at my own field card, my own vision appraisal thing. I have a split. How they measure, and this is updated. This is from, you know, the last time they came out or whenever the last time they did anything. It says first floor, 1,600. It does not, has nothing about a second floor, which we have.
Yeah.
Finished basement, 0. Finished open porch, 0. Garage under 0. Wood deck, 0. So my total living area is 1,600, 1,598, 1,600. It's far more than that, but it's because of the way I measure them. This is what I pay taxes on, which is why I never.
Exactly. And you know what? I looked at other splits on Ronald Drive just to see how they figure those out. And here's another example, 127 Ronald. And that is a split, but they've got only one measurement, first floor, 1,440 square feet. They have no other measurement for the second floor.
They probably combine it all, don't you think?
They combine because they consider it like a 3/4
But
story.
that for the subject property.
So they lump it all together into one figure.
Yeah, they're lumping it.
My first floor is not 1,500 square, 1,600 square feet. I can tell you that. It's a
Yeah,
combination.
Kathleen, can I make a suggestion that we ask the assessor to review the card and look at it as a split and make sure that never mind, he won't let us measure, but let's at least just correct the card if it's wrong. If all the splits are showing just the first floor, then figure out why get an answer as to why he has a finished upper story that's different on his card. They can probably tell you in 2 seconds if they look at the diagram or something, is either wrong or, is the style split level on his card? Does the style
Diagram
list
doesn't even look correct. That diagram looks very off. Normally, I can look at a field card and you can see for a split. You're going to see the different. You're see different levels. That house was not made in like those little rectangular spots. That's odd.
something's wrong? Something's wrong with that card.
The card is incorrect.
Yeah,
And that would be
that
that would
house
be a card.
is not 1,762 square feet. It's just not.
Okay, then let's look
Okay.
at, you know what, Helene? Do you think you could try calling him and asking him, if it comes to it, will he let the assessor measure from the outside?
Oh my gosh.
we won't see the marijuana plants growing through the window.
We don't care if he's got a deck that's 30 feet.
Really measuring from the outside?
That's how they measure, from the outside.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
alright.
I mean, he's got to meet us halfway. We're trying to, in all fairness, right? We're trying to make a correction here, but he's got to help us out.
All
Yeah, and
right.
if
I
we
will.
the assessors,
Assessor might
Let me get phone
we
number.
be able to
can try to
fit in
put
the
him
just by looking at the card without even disturbing him. The assessor might be able to look at the picture, look at the GIS, and figure out what's going on there, what might be wrong with the diagram or why the numbers are the way that they are for a split. So, you might not have to call him and get it all measured because, the house has been there for a long time. There's probably, if it was a development, I'm guessing, there's a map in the zoning. I just think that we could probably, the assessor could probably resolve the conflict and let us know what's going on without, aggravating the homeowner.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So are we postponing this then?
I believe so.
All right, I make a motion to postpone appeal number 21 until we can get further clarification on square footage. And
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Everybody's up. Okay. All set?
All set.
Carol, I'll be finished with that schedule for Wednesday very soon. I'll send it over to you tonight. And on Wednesday, tomorrow night, I received an email from the assessor that he cannot join us before 6:30.
Oh.
So when he's ready to show up, we'll talk to him about what he needs.
Okay.
I don't know why somebody thought that they don't have to be available as a resource when we've been doing that way for forever. But whatever, passive aggressive or not, whatever the reason is, he'll be here at 6:30 or so.
Okay. Kathy Grande, I need to post minutes at some point. So this is day 2. Are you going to summarize the minutes, say on Thursday? Because tomorrow will be our last day of meetings for the week.
Yeah, sure.
Or Friday. I just want to put in my phone a date that I'll follow up with you.
I'll send you the ones from yesterday tomorrow. I usually send it to the executive board, the president, the secretary, and the vice chair. Or the chairman, the vice chair, and the secretary. So I'll send you yesterday's tomorrow. And then maybe
Okay.
even today's tomorrow too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, and then just to clarify, as we head towards the end of the week, I'm going to post the agenda for the following. I can post it for the following 2 weeks, but Paula, do you have a sense? So we're going to do Monday through Thursday of next week, correct?
Yeah, 5 to 9. And I think, the appeal numbers will be easier because I think I wanted to get the bulk of Katie's and Judy's because they're not, they didn't make the same commitment we did. They don't have to be there every single night like we should be. So I'm trying to get them done when they're here. This way we don't have any issues. So once we get through most of it, I'm just going to start going in order, not numerical order. It'll make it a lot easier.
Right.
So we're going to do that schedule. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Okay, wait, you have to adjourn the meeting.
I just tonight we're adjourned.
Okay.
Made a motion to adjourn, didn't they? Thank you.
You're making one up second.
Okay,
Okay,
we're all set.
thank you. Okay.
Paulette,
Everybody.
Paulette,
night.
you're going to send an email to all of us saying what's on for tomorrow, so we
Yep.
know.
Yeah,
All
I'm almost done with it. I was working on it earlier before, so I just have a few more to put on.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.